Have you ever wondered what it would be like if one day a human being could truly become divine? This is not a work of fantasy. In the book of 3rd Enoch, we encounter one of the most unsettling transformations in the history of Jewish mysticism. The moment when a mortal man named Enoch is stripped of his human nature and transformed into Metatron, a powerful angel who stands beside the throne of the Most High. If such a transformation were real, could the fragile nature of a human being truly endure the power of the divine? Along this journey, you would stand face to face with some of the most powerful orders of angels in heaven. The seraphim blazing with fire, their 6 wings in constant motion. The cherubim filled with authority and awe. And the Ophanim covered with countless eyes, moving alongside the fiery chariots of the Merkabah as they turn between the realms of heaven. The existence of these beings and the hidden mystery of Enoch's transformation into Metatron made the book of 3rd Enoch deeply unsettling to those in power. For centuries, it was hidden, set aside, and rarely spoken of, as if to keep humanity from reaching toward the knowledge it contains. But now, the veil is lifted. When standing before Metatron in his radiant glory, would the human soul still be able to hold on to its own identity? Tonight I will read this entire book with you. Prepare your mind, because what you are about to hear is more than an ancient text. It is a forgotten story about heaven and the mysteries of the universe. And our journey begins now. Introduction to the book of 3rd Enoch, Sefer Hekhalot. The book of 3rd Enoch, also known as Sefer Hekhalot, the Book of the Heavenly Palaces, is one of the most mysterious mystical texts in the ancient Jewish theological tradition. Unlike prophetic writings or the familiar stories about fallen angels found in earlier Enochic works, 3rd Enoch takes the reader directly into the heart of Merkabah mysticism, the spiritual tradition centered on the vision of the divine chariot of God, first described in the prophetic vision of Ezekiel. Within this mystical tradition, Jewish sages believed that the human soul could ascend through the heavenly realms, drawing ever closer to the throne of glory of the Most High. These journeys were never intended as knowledge for the general public. Rather, they were understood as profound spiritual experiences reserved for those who sought a deeper understanding of the order of heaven. It is within this sacred and esoteric setting that 3rd Enoch emerges. The text was written in Hebrew, and many scholars believe it was compiled sometime around the 5th or 6th century after Christ within the intellectual environment of Jewish rabbinic schools. The narrative is presented as a dialogue between Rabbi Ishmael, a renowned Jewish sage, and the angel Metatron. According to the account, Rabbi Ishmael is brought into the heavenly realms and guided by Metatron through the palaces of heaven. Along this journey, Metatron reveals the hidden structure of the celestial order, describing the hosts of angels and explaining how the universe itself is governed under the authority of God. Yet the most astonishing revelation within the entire book concerns the true identity of Metatron. For according to this angel's own testimony, he was once Enoch, the mortal man who walked with God in the book of Genesis. In 3rd Enoch, Enoch is not merely taken into heaven. He is purified, transformed, and clothed in the nature of a mighty angel. After this transformation, he is given the name Metatron, the Prince of the Presence, an exalted angel who stands near the throne of God and is entrusted with recording the deeds of humanity. For this reason, many scholars view 3rd Enoch as a text describing the divinization of a human being, an extraordinarily bold theme within ancient theological thought. The difference between the books of Enoch, why 3rd Enoch is a unique experience. Many people often confuse the books that bear the name of Enoch. In reality, however, each text reflects a different historical context and a distinct theological perspective. 1st Enoch, often called the Ethiopian Book of Enoch, is the most widely known. Its narrative centers on the story of the Watcher's angels assigned to watch over the earth, who fell into corruption when they united with the daughters of men. From this union came the race known as the Nephilim giants, whose violence and corruption filled the world and ultimately led to the judgment of God through the Great Flood. Because of this, 1st Enoch carries a strong apocalyptic tone warning about the consequences of rebellion against the divine order. 2nd Enoch, also known as the Book of the Secrets of Enoch, presents a more philosophical and cosmological vision. In this text, Enoch is taken through 10 heavens, where he witnesses the structure of creation itself, how the universe was formed, how celestial bodies move, and how the order of time was established. In this narrative, Enoch becomes a witness to the architecture of creation. Thus, 2nd Enoch resembles a kind of map of the sacred cosmos, where angels reveal to Enoch the deeper nature of divine creation. But 3rd Enoch carries the story even further. 1st Enoch tells the story of fallen angels, and 2nd Enoch describes the structure of the universe. 3rd Enoch focuses on something entirely different, the transformation of the human being itself. In this text, the story no longer centers on events unfolding on Earth or the mysteries of cosmic creation. Instead, the focus turns toward Enoch's direct encounter with the throne of glory of God. The book offers vivid descriptions of the heavenly palaces known as the Hekhalot, where vast hosts of angels serve before the throne of the Lord. Fiery beings such as the seraphim, majestic guardians such as the cherubim and the ophanim, the living wheels covered with countless eyes, described in the vision of Ezekiel, all stand as keepers of the order of heaven. And at the center of this celestial reality stands Metatron, an angel who was once a human being. For this reason, many scholars regard 3rd Enoch as the pinnacle of the Merkabah mystical tradition, where the central question is no longer simply how the universe operates, but something far more profound: what happens when a human being stands in the presence of God? And can a mortal soul truly endure such glory? It is this question that makes 3rd Enoch a unique text within the entire Enochic tradition, not merely a story about angels, but a reflection on the mysterious boundary between humanity and the divine realm. The mystery of Enoch, the man chosen by God. In the Bible, the story of Enoch appears very briefly, yet it carries a profound meaning. The book of Genesis, chapter 5, verse 24, records a simple but deeply mysterious line: Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more because God took him. With only this single sentence, the Bible opens a mystery that has endured for thousands of years. Among the line of patriarchs from Adam to Noah, Enoch holds a unique place. He was the 7th patriarch from Adam, lived 365 years, and is described with a phrase rarely found anywhere else in Scripture: walked with God. What draws the attention of scholars is the way the Bible concludes his life. The other patriarchs in the same chapter follow a familiar pattern. They father children, live many years, and eventually die. But in the case of Enoch, the text uses an entirely different expression. Instead of saying that he died, the passage declares that he was no more because God took him. Within the Jewish tradition, this expression has long been understood as a sign of a special ascension, a human being taken from the physical world and brought into the spiritual realm. That short line has led generations of scholars and theologians to ask a profound question: what truly happened to Enoch after God took him? The book of 3rd Enoch, also known as Sefer Hekhalot, offers a remarkable answer. According to this text, Enoch did not experience death in the ordinary way. His life entered an entirely different stage when he was drawn out of the human world and brought into the reality of heaven. Within the tradition of Merkabah mysticism, the phrase walking with God carries a deeper meaning. It describes a spiritual transformation of the soul, a journey in which a person passes through the heavenly realms and draws closer to the presence of the Most High. For this reason, the phrase Enoch walked with God holds a meaning far deeper than a symbolic expression. It describes a journey in which a human being is brought into the very center of the divine realm. In Sefer Hekhalot, Enoch undergoes a process of purification and transformation. Mystical writings describe his body being clothed with radiant light, his soul ascending through the heavenly levels, and finally receiving a new name in heaven. That name is Metatron. Metatron is called the Prince of the Presence, the angel who stands before the presence of God. Many passages describe Metatron as the heavenly scribe who records the deeds of humanity, standing near the throne of glory and observing the order of the universe. Through this portrayal, 3rd Enoch presents a bold interpretation of the verse in Genesis. Enoch does not vanish from existence. He enters a new role within the order of heaven. Yet another question naturally arises. At that time, the world held countless people. Why was Enoch the one chosen by God? Many assume that Enoch was chosen because he lived as a perfect saint. In the ancient Enochic writings, especially in the first book of Enoch, the figure of Enoch appears with remarkable depth. He does not emerge as a powerful ruler or commanding leader, but rather as a quiet man living in the midst of a chaotic age. The time of Enoch is described in these ancient texts as one of the most morally corrupted periods in human history. The guardian angels, known as the Watchers, abandoned their appointed place and descended to the earth. There, they taught humanity knowledge that had never been intended for human hands. They revealed the arts of warfare, the secrets of metalworking, the use of enchantments, and many hidden mysteries of nature. From the union between the Watchers and the daughters of men, a new generation was born. These were the Nephilim, described as gigantic beings of immense strength whose presence shook the earth and filled human society with fear. Within this environment, human civilization slowly descended into violence, greed, and disorder. Cities began to honor power instead of righteousness, and knowledge became a tool used to dominate one another. Yet in the midst of such a world, Enoch chose a completely different path. The Book of Enoch portrays him as a man who separated himself from the patterns of his generation. He devoted much of his life to prayer and to deep reflection upon God. While many sought power and secret knowledge from the Watchers, Enoch sought wisdom directly from the Creator. He often withdrew from crowded settlements and lived in the quietness of hills and open fields where he contemplated the order of the world and directed his heart toward God. In particular, he spoke frequently with his son Methuselah about the visions he had received. Enoch taught his son how to maintain reverence for God in a world filled with temptation. He encouraged his children and descendants to live upright lives, to preserve kindness within their hearts, and to remember that every human action stands recorded before the presence of God. These teachings did not remain within his family alone. In several passages of the Book of Enoch, he is also described as a messenger who shared the warnings of God with the people of his generation, declaring that an age of violence and pride would eventually bring about a great judgment. It was this profound difference in his way of life that set Enoch apart from the people of his time. Yet within the tradition of Sefer Hekhalot, the story carries a more subtle meaning. Passages in 3rd Enoch describe the moment when Enoch enters the realm of angels. The presence of a human being among the fiery beings of heaven causes astonishment among many angels. One passage records the angels speaking before God. Why should one born of woman, a creature of dust, stand among the flames of heaven? This question reveals the immense distance between human nature and the nature of the angels. Yet this very moment makes the story of Enoch remarkable. According to this tradition, God chooses Enoch for a rare quality, the ability to observe and faithfully record what he sees. In Enochic literature, Enoch often carries the title, the heavenly scribe, the one who writes down the things revealed in heaven. This role holds deep significance. A true scribe must remain clear-minded in the presence of overwhelming visions, maintaining clarity while facing realities far beyond the understanding of ordinary human life. For this reason, in Sefer Hekhalot, Enoch appears as an observer of heaven, witnessing the order of the celestial realms and recording those truths for humanity. This quality becomes the reason he receives such a unique calling in the story of 3rd Enoch. From that moment forward, the story of Enoch moves beyond the history of mankind and enters a far deeper journey, a journey in which the boundary between humanity and the divine realm slowly begins to unfold. Chapter 1. And Enoch walked with God, and he was no more, for God took him. Rabbi Ishmael said, When I ascended on high, to behold the vision of the Merkabah, and had entered the 6 halls, one within the other as Soon as I reached the door of the seventh hall, I stood still in prayer before the Holy One, blessed be He, and lifting up my eyes on high toward the divine majesty, I said, Lord of the universe, I pray that the merit of Aaron, the son of Amram, the lover of peace and the pursuer of peace, who received the crown of priesthood from your glory on Mount Sinai, may stand for me in this hour. Let that merit guard me now, so that Kaphsiel, the prince, and the angels with him may not gain power over me, nor cast me down from the heavens. Immediately, the Holy One, blessed be, he sent to me Metatron, his servant, the angel, the prince of the presence. And spreading his wings with great joy, he came to meet me in order to save me from their hand. He took me by the hand in their sight and said to me, Enter in peace before the high and exalted king, and behold the vision of the Merkabah. Then I entered the seventh hall, and he led me into the camps of the Shekinah, and placed me before the Holy One, blessed be he, to behold the Merkabah. As soon as the princes of the Merkabah and the flaming seraphim perceived me, they fixed their eyes upon me. Instantly trembling and shuddering seized me. I fell down and became numb before the radiant image of their eyes and the splendid appearance of their faces. Then the Holy One, blessed be, he rebuked them and said, My servants, my seraphim, my cherubim, and my Ophanim, cover your eyes before Ishmael, my son, my friend, my beloved one, and my glory, so that he may not tremble and may not be afraid. At once Metatron, the prince of the presence, came and restored my spirit and set me upon my feet. Even after that moment, there remained within me no strength to sing before the throne of glory, of the glorious King, the mightiest of all kings, and the most exalted of all princes, until the hour had passed. After 1 hour had passed, the Holy One, blessed be, he opened to me the gates of the Shekinah, the gates of peace, the gates of wisdom, the gates of strength, the gates of power, the gates of speech, the gates of song, the gates of holiness, and the gates of chant. He enlightened my eyes and my heart with the words of psalms, songs, praise, exaltation, thanksgiving, glory, hymns, and blessings. And as I opened my mouth and uttered a song before the Holy One, blessed be he, the holy living creatures beneath and above the throne of glory answered and said, Holy and blessed be the glory of the Lord from his place. Chapter 2. Rabbi Ishmael said, In that hour, the eagles of the Merkabah, the flaming Ophanim, and the seraphim of consuming fire asked Metatron and said to him, Young one, why do you allow one born of a woman to enter and behold the Merkabah? From which nation does he come? From which tribe does he come? What kind of man is it? Metatron answered them and said, He comes from the people of Israel, whom the Holy One, blessed be, he chose as his people from among the 70 nations of the earth. He comes from the tribe of Levi, whom the Holy One set apart for his name. And he comes from the seed of Aaron, whom the Holy One, blessed be, he chose as his servant and crowned with the priesthood upon Mount Sinai. Then they answered and said, Indeed, this man is worthy to behold the Merkabah. And they said, Blessed are the people who live in such a calling. Chapter 3. Rabbi Ishmael said, In that hour I asked Metatron the angel, the prince of the presence, What is your name? He answered me and said, I have 70 names corresponding to the 70 tongues of the world. All of them are derived from the name Metatron, the angel of the presence. But my king calls me youth. Chapter 4. Rabbi Ishmael said, I asked Metatron and said to him, Why are you called by the name of your creator through 70 names? You are greater than all the princes, higher than all the angels, more beloved than all the servants, and honored above all the mighty ones, in kingship, greatness, and glory. Why do they call you youth in the high heavens? He answered me and said, Because I am Enoch the son of Jared. When the generation of the flood sinned and corrupted their ways, they said to God, Depart from us, for we desire no knowledge of your ways. Then the Holy One, blessed be, he removed me from their midst and raised me up to the high heavens as a witness against them for all the inhabitants of the world. In this way, the people of the earth may understand that the merciful one acts with justice. For many would ask, what sins had those multitudes committed? And if they sinned, what had their sons and daughters done? What had their mules and cattle done? What had the animals of the field, the creatures of the wilderness, and the birds of the heavens done, that they should perish when the world was judged? Therefore the Holy One, blessed be, He lifted me up before their very eyes while they were still living and appointed me as a witness for the generations that would come. The Holy One, blessed be, he appointed me as a prince and a ruler among the ministering angels. In that moment, 3 of the ministering angels came forward, Uzzah, and Azael. They brought charges against me in the high heavens and spoke before the Holy One, blessed be he. They said, "Did not the Ancient Ones speak rightly before you? When they said, 'Do not create man,' the Holy One, blessed be, he answered them and said, 'I have created him, and I will sustain him. I will carry him, and I will deliver him.' When they saw me, they said before him, 'Lord of the universe, what is this being that he should ascend to the highest heights? Is he not one from among the sons of those who perished in the days of the flood? What place does he have in the heavenly realm?' Again the Holy One, blessed be, he answered them and said, 'Who are you that you should enter and speak in my presence? I delight in this one more than in all of you. Therefore he shall become a prince and a ruler over you in the high heavens.' Immediately they all rose and came forward to meet me. They bowed down before me and said, 'Blessed are you, and blessed is your Father, for your Creator delights in you. Because I am younger than the angels in days, months, and years, they call me youth.'" Chapter 5. Rabbi Ishmael said, "Metatron, the prince of the presence, said to me, 'From the day when the Holy One, blessed be, he expelled the first Adam from the Garden of Eden, and onward, the Shekinah dwelt upon a cherub beneath the tree of life. The ministering angels gathered together and descended from heaven in groups, coming down from the firmament in companies and from the heavenly camps to carry out his will throughout the whole world. The first man and his generation sat outside the gate of the garden and beheld the radiant appearance of the Shekinah. The splendor of the Shekinah traveled across the world from one end to the other with a brilliance 365,000 times greater than the light of the sun. Everyone who came under the radiance of the Shekinah received protection from harm. No flies or gnats rested upon them. Illness did not come near them. Pain did not touch them. Demons held no power over them, and no evil spirit could injure them. Whenever the Holy One, blessed be, he moved from the garden to Eden, from Eden back to the garden to the firmament, and from the firmament again to the Garden of Eden. All people beheld the splendor of the Shekinah and remained unharmed. This continued until the time of the generation of Enoch, the one who stood at the head of the idol worshippers of the world. What did the generation of Enoch do? They traveled from one end of the earth to the other. Each person brought silver, gold, precious stones, pearls, and great treasures piled up like mountains and hills. From these riches they fashioned idols across the entire world. They raised these idols in every region of the earth. Each idol stood enormous in size, stretching across a distance of 1,000 parasangs. They drew down the sun, the moon, the planets, and the constellations, and placed them beside the idols on the right and on the left, as attendants, just as the heavenly hosts attend the Holy One, blessed be he. For it is written, "All the hosts of heaven stood beside him, on his right hand and on his left." How did they gain the power to draw down the heavenly body? Such power came through the teachings of Uzzah and Azael. These beings instructed them in sorcery and secret arts, and through those practices the people summoned the celestial powers and used them. At that time, the ministering angels brought accusations against them before the Holy One, blessed be he. They spoke before him and said, "Master of the world, what concern have the children of men in these matters? As it is written, what is man that you remember him?" The verse speaks of Enoch, the one who led the world into idol worship. "Why did you leave the highest heavens which overflow with the majesty of your glory? Why did you leave the exalted throne in the firmament of Araboth above, and dwell among the children of men who worship idols, and place them beside you? Now you stand upon the earth, and the idols stand upon the earth as well. What connection do you have with the inhabitants of the earth who bow before idols?" At that moment the Holy One, blessed be, he lifted his Shekinah from the earth and withdrew it from their midst. Immediately the ministering angels gathered along with the hosts of heaven and the armies of Araboth in thousands of camps and tens of thousands of hosts. They took up trumpets and lifted horns in their hands. They surrounded the Shekinah with every kind of song and praise. Then the Shekinah ascended to the highest heavens. As it is written, "God has ascended with a shout, the Lord with the sound of a trumpet." Chapter 6. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron. The angel, the prince of the present, said to me, when the Holy One, blessed be, he desired to lift me up on high, he first sent Anaphil the prince. Anaphil took me from among the people in their sight, and carried me in great glory upon a fiery chariot drawn by fiery horses, servants of glory. He lifted me up to the highest heavens together with the Shekinah. As soon as I arrived in the high heavens, the holy Chariot, the Ophanim, the Seraphim, the Cherubim, the wheels of the Merkabah, the Galgalim, and the ministers of the consuming fire sensed my presence from a distance of 365,000 myriads of parasangs. They spoke and said, what is this scent of one born of a woman? What is this trace of a white drop that rises into the heights? Behold, he appears among those who divide the flames of fire like a small gnat. Then the Holy One, blessed be, he answered them and said, my servants, my hosts, my cherubim, my Ophanim, and my seraphim receive this with peace. All the children of men turned away from me and from my great kingdom, and they devoted themselves to the worship of idols. I lifted my Shekinah from their midst and raised it to the heavens. Yet this one whom I have taken from among them stands as one chosen from the inhabitants of the world. His faith, his righteousness, and the integrity of his deeds stand equal to them all. Therefore I have taken him as a precious offering for my world under all the heavens. Chapter 7. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron, the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, when the Holy One, blessed be, he took me away from the generation of the flood, he carried me upon the wings of the wind of the Shekinah to the highest heaven. He brought me into the great palaces of the firmament of Araboth above. There stand the glorious throne of the Shekinah and the Merkabah. There also dwell the troops of divine anger, the armies of power, the fiery Shinanim, the flaming cherubim, and the burning Ophanim. There are the flaming servants, the flashing Shashmalim, and the lightning seraphim. And in that place he set me to serve before the throne of glory day after day. Chapter 8. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron, the prince of the present, said to me, before he appointed me to attend the throne of glory, the Holy One, blessed be, he opened for me 300,000 gates of understanding. He opened 300,000 gates of subtlety. He opened 300,000 gates of life. He opened 300,000 gates of grace and loving kindness. He opened 300,000 gates of love. He opened 300,000 gates of Torah. He opened 300,000 gates of humility. He opened 300,000 gates of provision and sustenance. He opened 300,000 gates of mercy. He opened 300,000 gates of reverence for heaven. In that hour, the Holy One, blessed be, he increased wisdom within me and added wisdom to wisdom. He added understanding to understanding. He added subtlety to subtlety. He added knowledge to knowledge. He added mercy to mercy. He added instruction to instruction. He added love to love. He added loving kindness to loving kindness. He added goodness to goodness. He added humility to humility. He added power to power. He added strength to strength. He added might to might. He added brilliance to brilliance. He added beauty to beauty. He added splendor to splendor. Through all these gifts I received honor, and was adorned with these virtues more than all the children of heaven. Chapter 9. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron, the prince of the present, said to me, after all these things, the Holy One, blessed be, he placed his hand upon me and blessed me with 5,360 blessings. I grew and expanded until my size reached the full length and width of the world. Then 72 wings appeared upon me, 36 on each side. Each wing stretched across a span as wide as the whole world. He also placed upon me 365 eyes. Each eye shone like a great heavenly luminary, no form of splendor. Brilliance, radiance, beauty, or light from all the lights of the universe remained absent from me, for he set every one of them upon me. Chapter 10. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron, the prince of the present, said to me, all these things the Holy One, blessed be, he prepared for me. He made for me a throne resembling the throne of glory. He spread over me a curtain of splendor and a radiant covering of beauty, grace, and mercy, resembling the curtain of the throne of glory. Upon it were fixed every kind of light that exists in the universe. He placed this throne at the entrance of the seventh hall and seated me upon it. Then a herald went forth through every heaven, proclaiming, this is Metatron, my servant. I have appointed him as a prince and ruler over all the princes of my kingdoms and over all the children of heaven, except the 8 great princes the honored and revered ones, who are called by the name of their king. Every angel and every prince who has a message to present before me shall go before him and speak in his presence. Every command he gives to you in my name you shall observe and carry out. For the Prince of Wisdom and the Prince of Understanding I have entrusted to him, so that he may be instructed in the wisdom of the heavens and the wisdom of the earth, in the wisdom of this world, and in the wisdom of the world to come. Furthermore, I've placed him over all the treasuries of the palaces of Araboth, and over all the stores of life that I keep in the highest heavens. Chapter 11. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, From that time onward, the Holy One, blessed be, he revealed to me all the mysteries of the Torah. He revealed to me all the secrets of wisdom. He revealed to me all the depths of the perfect law. The thoughts within the hearts of all living beings became known to me. The secrets of the universe and the hidden works of creation opened before me. These things appeared before me just as they stand revealed before the Maker of creation. I looked attentively into the depths of these mysteries and beheld the wonders concealed within them. Before a person formed a thought in the heart, I already knew what existed within that thought. Nothing in the heights above and nothing in the depths below remained hidden from me. Chapter 12. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron, the prince of the present, said to me, Because of the love with which the Holy One, blessed be, he loved me above all the children of heaven. He prepared for me a garment of glory. Upon this garment he placed every kind of radiant light. He clothed me with this garment. He also made for me a robe of honor. Upon that robe he set every form of beauty, splendor, brilliance, and majesty. He fashioned for me a royal crown. Within this crown he set 49 precious stones that shone like the light of the sun. The brilliance of this crown spread through the 4 regions of the firmament of Araboth. Its light reached through the 7 heavens and extended across the 4 corners of the world. He placed this crown upon my head. In the presence of all the heavenly hosts, he called me the lesser Yahweh, as it is written, For my name is within him. Chapter 13. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the presence, the glory of all the heavens, said to me, Because of the great love and mercy with which the Holy One, blessed be, he loved me and cherished me above all the children of heaven. He wrote upon the crown that rests upon my head. He wrote with his own finger using a flaming stylus. Upon the crown he inscribed the letters through which heaven and earth were created. He inscribed the letters through which the seas and the rivers came into being. He inscribed the letters through which the mountains and the hills were formed. He inscribed the letters through which the planets and the constellations were established. He inscribed the letters through which lightning winds, earthquakes, and voices were brought forth. He inscribed the letters through which snow and hail appeared. He inscribed the letters through which the storm wind and the raging tempest move across the world. These were the letters through which all the needs of the world were created, and through which every order of creation came into existence. Each letter shone again and again like flashes of lightning. At times they appeared like blazing torches. At times they rose like flames of fire. At times they radiated like the rising light of the sun, the moon, and the planets. Chapter 14. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, When the Holy One, blessed be, he placed this crown upon my head, all the princes of the kingdoms who dwell in the height of the firmament of Araboth trembled before me. All the hosts of every heaven stood in awe. The princes of the Elam, the princes of the harem, and the princes of the Taphteron, who stand greater than many of the ministering angels serving before the throne of glory, shook with reverence when they beheld me. They stood in fear and trembling at the sight of my appearance. Even Samael, the prince of the accusers, who holds authority above many princes of the heavenly kingdoms, trembled before me. The angel of fire stood in awe. The angel of hail stood in awe. The angel of the wind trembled at my presence. The angel of lightning felt fear. The angel of divine wrath trembled. The angel of thunder shook with reverence. The angel of snow trembled. The angel of rain stood in awe. The angel appointed over the day felt fear. The angel appointed over the night trembled. The angel appointed over the sun stood in reverence. The angel appointed over the moon trembled. The angel appointed over the planets stood in awe. The angel appointed over the constellations, who guide the movements of the world, trembled when they saw me. These are the names of the rulers appointed over the forces of the world: Gabriel the angel set over the fire. Pureliel the angel set over the hail. Rashiel the one appointed over the wind. Baradiel the one appointed over the lightning. Samiel the one appointed over the forces of intensity and power. Zekiel the one appointed over the sparks of flame. Zuiel the one appointed over the movements and disturbances of the heavens. Ramiel the one appointed over the thunder. Rashiel the one appointed over the earthquakes. Shalgiel the one appointed over the snow. Matariel the one appointed over the rain. Shinshael the one appointed over the day. Laliel the one appointed over the night. Galgaliel the one appointed over the sphere of the sun. Ophaniel the one appointed over the sphere of the moon. Kokabeel the one appointed over the planets. Rahatiel the one appointed over the constellations. When they beheld me, they bowed themselves to the ground. None among them could look directly upon me. The majestic glory and radiant beauty of the shining crown of glory upon my head filled the heavens with brilliance. Chapter 15. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the presence, the glory of all the heavens, said to me, when the Holy One blessed be. He took me into his service to attend the throne of glory. The wheels of the Merkabah and the needs of the Shekinah, a great transformation came upon me. My flesh became flames. My sinews turned into blazing fire. My bones became like coals of burning juniper. The light of my eyelids shone like flashes of lightning. My eyes burned like fiery torches. The hair upon my head rose like living flames. Every limb of my body became wings of burning fire. The whole of my body shone as glowing fire. On my right side stood divisions of fiery flames. On my left side, burning firebrands blazed. Around me, the storm wind and the tempest moved with power. Before me and behind me came the roaring of thunder together with the trembling of the earth. Addition to Chapter 15. The fragment of the ascension of Moses. Rabbi Ishmael said to me, Metatron, the prince of the presence, stands as prince over all the princes. He stands before the one who is greater than all the Elohim. He enters beneath the throne of glory. Above him stands a great tabernacle of light in the heavens. From there, he brings forth the fire of deafness and places it into the ears of the holy Chariot, so that they do not hear the voice of the word that goes forth from the mouth of the divine majesty. When Moses ascended into the heavens, he fasted 121 fasts. Through this devotion, the dwellings of the Chashmal opened before him. He beheld the heart within the heart of the lion. He saw countless companies of heavenly hosts surrounding him. Their power stirred like a consuming fire around him. Moses lifted his voice in prayer and sought mercy. He first prayed for the people of Israel and afterward for himself. Then the one who sits upon the Merkabah opened the windows above the heads of the cherubim. A company of 1,800 advocates came forth. With them came Metatron, the prince of the presence. Together they went out to meet Moses. They received the prayers of Israel and placed them like a crown upon the head of the Holy One. Blessed be he. And they proclaimed, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Their faces shone with joy before the Shekinah. They said to Metatron, What are these prayers, and to whom do they offer such honor and glory? The answer came, They offer them to the glorious Lord of Israel. Then they proclaimed again, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. To whom belongs abundance of honor and majesty, if not to you, O Yahweh, divine majesty, the living and eternal King. In that moment, Akatriel Yahad Sebaoth spoke and said to Metatron, the prince of the presence, Let no prayer spoken before me return empty. Hear his prayer and bring fulfillment to his desire, whether it be great or small. Then Metatron, the prince of the presence, spoke to Moses, the son of Amram, and said, Take courage, for now God delights in you. Ask your desire from the glory and the majesty, for your face shines from one end of the world to the other. Moses answered him and said, My heart carries reverence, and I walk carefully so that no guilt may fall upon me. Metatron said to him, Receive the letters of the oath, the covenant that stands firm forever, a covenant that holds faithfulness and preserves the bond between God and his people. Chapter 16. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the presence, the glory of all heaven, said to me, At first I sat upon a great throne at the entrance of the seventh hall. From that place I judged the children of heaven and the household above, by the authority of the Holy One, blessed be he. I distributed greatness, kingship, dignity, rulership, honor, praise, diadems, and the crown of glory among all the princes of the kingdoms, while I presided in the celestial court. During that time Acher came to behold the vision of the Merkabah. When he fixed his eyes upon me, he trembled with awe. Fear and astonishment seized his spirit. His soul nearly departed from him because of the dread that filled his heart. He saw me seated upon a throne like a king. Around me stood the ministering angels as servants. The princes of the kingdoms stood surrounding me, each adorned with crowns. In that moment, he opened his mouth and spoke these words. Indeed, there are two divine powers in heaven. Immediately, a Bath Kol, the divine voice, went forth from heaven, from before the Shekinah, and proclaimed, "Return, O backsliding children. All may return except Acher." Then Anpiel the prince came forth, the honored, glorified, beloved, wondrous, revered, and awe-inspiring one. He came with a commission from the Holy One, blessed be he. He struck me with 60 lashes of fire. Then he caused me to stand upon my feet. Chapter 17. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the presence, the glory of all the heavens, said to me, 7 princes stand, as the great, beautiful, revered, wonderful, and honored rulers appointed over the 7 heavens. Their names are Michael, Gabriel, Shatkiel, Shahakel, Barakiel, and Sidriel. Each one serves as prince over the hosts of a single heaven. With each prince stand 496,000 myriads of ministering angels who serve under their authority. Michael, the great prince, stands appointed over the 7th heaven, the highest heaven within Araboth. Gabriel, the prince of the host, stands appointed over the 6th heaven, which is called Makon. Shatkiel, the prince of the host, stands appointed over the 5th heaven, which is called Maon. The prince of the host stands appointed over the 4th heaven, which is called Zebul. Badariel, the prince of the host, stands appointed over the 3rd heaven, which is called Shehakim. Barakiel, the prince of the host, stands appointed over the 2nd heaven, which rises within the heights of Rakia. Sidriel, the prince of the host, stands appointed over the 1st heaven, which is called Vilon, within the realm of Shemaim. Beneath them stands Galgaliel, the prince appointed over the sphere of the sun. With him serve 96 great and honored angels, who guide the movement of the sun across the firmament of Rakia. Beneath them stands Ophaniel, the prince appointed over the sphere of the moon. With him stand 88 angels, who move the moon through a journey of 354,000 parasangs each night. The moon reaches its turning point when it stands in the eastern sky. This turning point occurs on the 15th day of every month. Beneath them stands Rahatiel, the prince appointed over the constellations. 72 great and honored angels accompany him in this duty. The name Rahatiel reflects his task, for he guides the stars along their courses and Tratmas and directs their paths. Each night the stars travel a distance of 339,000 parasangs. They move from east to west and again from west to east. The Holy One, blessed be, he prepared a great tent within the heavens for the sun, the moon, the planets, and the stars. Within this vast canopy they travel during the night from the west toward the east. Beneath them stands Kokbiel, the prince appointed over all the planets. With him serve 365,000 myriads of ministering angels, great and honored ones who guide the planets from region to region within the firmament of the heavens. Above them stand 72 princes of the heavenly kingdoms, corresponding to the 72 tongues of the world. Each prince wears a royal crown and garments of royal splendor. Each prince rides upon a royal horse and holds a royal scepter in his hand. When they travel through the firmament of Rakia Royal, servants run before them with great glory and majesty. Their movement resembles the processions of kings upon the earth who travel with chariots. Horsemen, great armies, honor, music, praise, and celebration. Chapter 18. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the presence, the glory of all heaven, said to me, The angels of the 1st heaven, whenever they behold their prince, dismount from their horses and fall upon their faces. When the prince of the 1st heaven sees the prince of the 2nd heaven, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When the prince of the 2nd heaven sees the prince of the 3rd heaven, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When the prince of the 3rd heaven sees the prince of the 4th heaven, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When the prince of the 4th heaven sees the prince of the 5th heaven, He removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When the prince of the fifth heaven sees the prince of the sixth heaven, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When the prince of the sixth heaven sees the prince of the seventh heaven, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When the prince of the seventh heaven beholds the 72 princes of the kingdoms, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When the 72 princes of the kingdoms behold the gatekeepers of the first hall in the firmament of Araboth above, they remove their royal crowns and bow themselves to the ground. When the gatekeepers of the first hall behold the gatekeepers of the second hall, they remove the crown of glory from their heads and bow themselves to the ground. This same reverence continues from hall to hall throughout the heavenly palaces. When the gatekeepers of the sixth hall behold the gatekeepers of the seventh hall, they remove the crown of glory from their heads and bow themselves to the ground. When the gatekeepers of the seventh hall behold the four great princes who stand over the four camps of the Shekinah, they remove their crowns of glory and bow themselves to the ground. When the four great princes behold Tagus, the honored prince who leads the hosts of heaven in song and praise, they remove their crowns and bow themselves to the ground. When Tagus, the great prince, beholds Barathiel, the mighty prince who stands in the heights of Araboth, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Barathiel beholds Haman, the great prince, the awe-inspiring one who causes all the children of heaven to tremble, when the moment approaches for the proclamation of the thrice holy, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Haman beholds Totrisiel, the great prince, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Totrisiel beholds Othrugiel, the great prince, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Othrugiel beholds Narariel, the great prince, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Narariel beholds Sasniel, the great prince, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Sasniel beholds Zazriel, the great prince, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Zazriel beholds Gaburatiel, the great prince, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Gaburatiel beholds Araphiel, the great prince, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Araphiel beholds Ashroilo, the prince who presides over the assemblies of the children of heaven, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Ashroilo beholds Galgaleel, the prince who reveals the secrets of the law, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Galgaleel beholds Sakakiel, the prince appointed to record the merits of Israel upon the throne of glory, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. When Zakzakiel, the great prince, beholds Anaphiel, the prince who keeps the keys of the heavenly halls, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. The name Anaphiel reflects the majesty that surrounds him, for the splendor of his honor covers the chambers of Araboth, just as the glory of the Creator fills the heavens. When Anaphiel beholds Sefer Ashiel, the great and revered prince, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. Sefer Ashiel holds authority over the four heads of the fiery river that flows before the throne of glory. Every prince who approaches the Shekinah passes by his permission, for the seals of the fiery river remain entrusted to him. His height extends across 7,000 myriads of parasangs. He stirs the fire of the river and approaches the Shekinah to reveal what is written concerning the inhabitants of the world according to the words. The judgment was set and the books were opened. When Sefer Ashiel beholds Shakakozi, the mighty prince, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. Shakakozi carries the responsibility of weighing the merits of humanity in a balance before the Holy One, blessed be he. When he beholds Satan Puru, the great prince honored and feared among the heavenly household, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. This prince possesses authority over the fiery river and restores its flow to its appointed place. When he beholds Asbuga, the great prince honored among the princes who know the mysteries of the throne of glory, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. In the age to come, Azbuga will clothe the righteous and the faithful with garments of life and wrap them with the cloak of life so that they may live in everlasting life. When he beholds the two great princes who stand above him, he removes the crown of glory from his head and bows himself to the ground. These two princes are Sophriel Hokileth and Sophriel Hamaketh alive. Sophriel Hokileth stands appointed over the books of the dead. Whenever the day of a person's death approaches, he writes that name into the book of the dead. Sophriel Hamaketh alive stands appointed over the books of the living. Those whom the Holy One blessed be, he appoints for life, are written by him into the book of the living by the authority of the Eternal One. The hosts of heaven stand continually before the presence of the Holy One. Even the greatest princes of the heavens serve while standing in reverence before the Shekinah. They perform their duties while standing upon the wheels of the tempest and the wheels of the storm wind. They wear royal garments and robes of majesty. They carry royal crowns upon their heads. Their bodies shine with countless eyes. Their appearance flashes like lightning. Their eyes blaze like the sun in its strength. Their height reaches as high as the seven heavens. Their wings number as many as the days of the year. Their wings extend across the breadth of the firmament. Their lips rise like the gates of the east. Their tongues rise like the waves of the sea. From their mouths flames go forth. From their mouths flashes of lightning appear. From their sweat fire is kindled. From their tongues burning torches blaze. Upon their heads rest stones of sapphire. Upon their shoulders stand the wheels of swift cherubim. In their hands they hold burning scrolls and flaming styluses. The scrolls measure 3,000 myriads of parasangs in length. The styluses measure 3,000 myriads of parasangs in size. Each letter written by them extends across 365 parasangs. Chapter 19. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, above these three angels, these great princes, there stands one prince who surpasses them in honor and majesty. He is distinguished, noble, glorified, adorned, and crowned with greatness. He stands fearless and strong, mighty and exalted. He is ancient in dignity and powerful in authority. Among the princes of heaven, none resembles him. His name is Rikbiel the Great and revered prince who stands beside the Merkabah. The name Rikbiel reflects his office, for he is appointed over the wheels of the Merkabah, and they remain under his care. The number of these wheels is 8. 2 stand in each direction. 4 winds surround them on every side. These winds are called the storm wind, the tempest, the mighty wind, and the wind of earthquake. Beneath them flow 4 rivers of fire that run continually. 1 river of fire moves along each side. Around them stand 4 clouds between the fiery rivers. These clouds are called the clouds of fire, the clouds of lamps, the clouds of coals, and the clouds of brimstone. They remain standing near the wheels. The feet of the holy Chariot rest upon these wheels. Between one wheel and another, the sound of earthquake roars and thunder resounds. When the moment approaches for the heavenly song, the multitude of wheels begins to move. The clouds tremble with power. The chiefs of the hosts grow filled with awe. The riders of the heavens stir with energy. The mighty ones awaken with fervor. The heavenly hosts stand in reverence. The companies of angels gather in readiness. The princes and armies feel the weight of glory. The servants grow faint with awe. The angels and their divisions move with trembling anticipation. One wheel calls out to another wheel. One cherub calls out to another cherub. One living creature calls out to another living creature. One seraph calls out to another seraph, saying, Exalt him who rides upon the firmament of Araboth by the name Yah, and rejoice before him. Chapter 20. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, above these stands one great and mighty prince, whose name is Shael. He is noble and revered among the hosts of heaven. He is glorious and mighty, a prince of immense authority. All the children of heaven stand in awe before him. His strength holds such power that he could swallow the whole earth in a single moment. The name Shael reflects his task, for he stands appointed over the holy Chariot. He strikes the Chariot with lashes of fire to stir them into movement. He strengthens and glorifies them when they lift their voices in praise and rejoicing. He urges them forward so that they may hasten to proclaim, Holy and blessed be the glory of Yah, from his place. Chapter 21. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, 4 living creatures stand in the heavens, corresponding to the 4 winds. Each living creature stretches across a space as vast as the whole world. Each one possesses 4 faces. Every face shines toward the direction of the east. Each living creature has 4 wings. Each wing spreads like a covering over the universe. Within them appear faces within faces and wings within wings. The measure of their faces equals the measure of 248 faces. The measure of their wings equals the measure of 365 wings. Upon the head of each one rest 2,000 crowns. Every crown shines like the rainbow that appears in the cloud. Its brilliance resembles the radiance of the sun in the heavens. From each of them, sparks go forth continually. These sparks shine like the light of the morning star rising in the east. Chapter 22. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron. The angel, the prince of the present, said to me, above these there stands one prince, who is noble, wonderful, strong, and praised with many praises. His name is Cherubiel. He is a mighty prince filled with power and strength, a prince of great authority. With him stands a righteous prince of righteousness. With him stands a holy prince of holiness. With him also stands a prince honored by thousands of hosts and exalted by 10,000 armies. When his wrath stirs, the earth trembles. When his anger rises, the heavenly camps move in fear. At his rebuke, the foundations of the heavens shake. Even the firmament of Araboth trembles before his voice. His stature glows like burning coals. The height of his form rises as high as the 7 heavens. The breadth of his form stretches across the 7 heavens. The fullness of his being reaches the measure of the 7 heavens. The opening of his mouth shines like a lamp of fire. His tongue burns like a consuming flame. His eyebrows flash like lightning. His eyes shine like sparks of radiant brilliance. His countenance glows like a blazing fire. Upon his head rests a crown of holiness. Upon this crown the explicit name is engraved and flashes of lightning shine from it. The bow of the Shekinah rests between his shoulders. His sword shines like lightning. Upon his waist hang arrows that burn like flames. His armor and shield glow with consuming fire. Around his neck rest coals of burning juniper. Coals of burning juniper surround him on every side. The splendor of the Shekinah shines upon his face. Horns of majesty appear upon his wheels. A royal diadem rests upon his head. His body shines with countless eyes. Wings spread across the height of his great stature. On his right hand, a flame burns brightly. On his left hand, a glowing fire burns with coals and sparks. Firebrands rise from his body. Lightning flashes from his face. Thunder sounds continually around him. Earthquake follows earthquake beside him. The 2 princes of the Merkabah stand together with him. The name Cherubiel reflects his office. He stands appointed over the chariot of the cherubim. The mighty cherubim remain entrusted to his care. He places crowns upon their heads and polishes the diadems upon them. He magnifies the glory of their appearance. He enhances the beauty of their majesty. He increases the greatness of their honor. He leads the song of their praise. He strengthens their glorious power. He causes the brilliance of their glory to shine forth. He beautifies their mercy and loving kindness. He shapes the radiance of their splendor. He enriches the beauty of their compassion. He exalts the dignity of their majesty. He orders the harmony of their praise. Through their praise, the dwelling place of the one who sits upon the cherubim is established. The cherubim stand beside the holy Chariot. Their wings rise above their heads. The Shekinah rests upon them. The brilliance of glory shines upon their faces. Songs of praise fill their mouths. Their hands rest beneath their wings. Their feet remain covered by their wings. Horns of glory rest upon their heads. The splendor of the Shekinah shines upon their faces. The Shekinah rests above them. Sapphire stones surround them. Columns of fire stand on their 4 sides. Columns of flaming firebrands stand beside them. A sapphire stone stands on one side and another sapphire on the other. Beneath these sapphires lie coals of burning juniper. One cherub stands in each direction. The wings of the cherubim stretch across one another above their heads and glory. They spread their wings to sing together before the one who dwells upon the clouds. They lift praise before the fearful majesty of the King of Kings. Cherubiel, the prince who stands over them, arranges them in beautiful and harmonious order. He raises them in honor, dignity, and glory. He hastens them with strength and majesty to fulfill the will of their Creator at every moment. Above their lofty heads, the glory of the High King continually abides the one who dwells upon the cherubim. This section has been omitted in many versions of this book. There is a court before the throne of glory which no seraph nor angel can enter. and it measures 36,000 myriads of parasangs, as it is written. And the seraphim are standing above him. The final word of that scriptural passage carries the numerical value 36, corresponding to the number of the bridges in that place. There are 24 myriads of wheels of fire. The ministering angels number 12,000 myriads. There are 12,000 rivers of hail and 12,000 treasuries of snow. Within the 7 halls stand chariots of fire and flames beyond counting without end or measure. Rabbi Ishmael said to me, Metatron the angel. The prince of the presence said to me, how do the angels stand on high? They stand like a bridge placed over a river so that everyone may pass across it. In the same way, a bridge extends from the beginning of the entrance to its end. 3 ministering angels surround it and sing a song before Yahweh, the God of Israel. Before it stand lords of dread and captains of fear in number, 1,000 times 1,000 and 10,000 times 10,000, and they sing praise and hymns before Yahweh, the God of Israel. Numerous bridges are there. There are bridges of fire and bridges of hail. There are many rivers of hail, many treasuries of snow, and many wheels of fire. How many are the ministering angels? They number 12,000 myriads, with 6,000 myriads above and 6,000 myriads below. The treasuries of snow number 12,000, with 6 above and 6 below. There are 24 myriads of wheels of fire, with 12 myriads above and 12 myriads below. They surround the bridges and the rivers of fire and the rivers of hail. Numerous ministering angels form entrances for all the creatures standing among them, corresponding to the paths of the firmament of heaven. What does Yahweh, the God of Israel, the King of glory, the great and fearful God, mighty in strength, do? He covers his face. In Araboth stand 660,000 myriads of angels of glory before the throne of glory and the divisions of flaming fire. The King of glory covers his face, for the firmament of Araboth would otherwise be torn apart because of the majesty, splendor, beauty, radiance, loveliness, brilliance, brightness, and excellence of the appearance of the Holy One. Blessed be he. There are numerous ministering angels performing his will. There are numerous kings and numerous princes in the Araboth of his delight. These angels are revered among the rulers of heaven. They stand adorned with song and remembrance of love. They tremble before the splendor of the Shekinah. Their eyes grow dazzled by the shining beauty of their king. Their faces darken and their strength fades before his glory. Rivers of joy go forth. Streams of gladness flow. Rivers of rejoicing and streams of triumph move outward. Rivers of love and streams of friendship flow with great power. They pass before the throne of glory and grow in strength as they travel through the gates of the paths of Araboth. Their movement follows the voice of the shouting and music of the Chariot, the sound of the rejoicing timbrels of the Ophanim, and the melody of the cymbals of the cherubim. They move forward with the sound of the hymn, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron. The prince of the presence said to me, what is the distance between one bridge and another? It is 12 myriads of parasangs. Their ascent measures myriads of parasangs, and their descent measures myriads of parasangs. The distance between the rivers of dread and the rivers of fear is 22 myriads of parasangs. Between the rivers of hail and the rivers of darkness, the distance is 36 myriads of parasangs. Between the chambers of lightning and the clouds of compassion, the distance is 42 myriads of parasangs. Between the clouds of compassion and the Merkabah, the distance is 84 myriads of parasangs. Between the Merkabah and the cherubim, the distance is 148 myriads of parasangs. Between the cherubim and the Ophanim, the distance is 24 myriads of parasangs. Between the Ophanim and the chambers of chambers, the distance is 24 myriads of parasangs. Between the chambers of chambers and the holy Chariot, the distance is 40,000 myriads of parasangs. Between one wing of the Chariot and another, the distance is 12 myriads of parasangs, and the breadth of each wing is the same measure. The distance between the holy Chariot and the throne of glory is 30,000 myriads of parasangs. From the foot of the throne to the seat, there are 40,000 myriads of parasangs. The name of the one who sits upon it is holy. Above the firmament of Araboth stand the arches of the bow, rising 1 billion units in height. Their measure follows the measure of the watchers and the holy ones, as it is written, My bow I have set in the cloud. The scripture speaks not of a future act, but of a bow already set in place. Clouds surround the throne of glory. As these clouds pass, the angels of hail transform into burning coals. From the voice of the holy Chariot, a fire of sound descends. At the breath of that voice, the hosts move swiftly to another place in reverence. They move forward and return again in harmony. The arches of the bow shine more beautifully than the radiance of the sun at the height of summer. They shine brighter than flaming fire. They appear great and magnificent in their beauty. Above the arches of the bow stand the wheels of the Ophanim. Their height measures 1 billion units, according to the measure of the seraphim and the heavenly hosts. Chapter 23. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron. The angel, the prince of the presence, said to me, There are numerous winds blowing under the wings of the cherubim. There blows the brooding wind, as it is written, and the wind of God was brooding upon the face of the waters. There blows the strong wind, as it is said, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night. There blows the east wind, as it is written, the east wind brought the locusts. There blows the wind of quails, as it is written. And there went forth a wind from the Lord, and brought quails. There blows the wind of jealousy, as it is written, and the wind of jealousy came upon him. There blows the wind of earthquake, as it is written. And after that, the wind of the earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. There blows the wind of Yah, as it is written. And he carried me out by the wind of Yah, and set me down. There blows the evil wind, as it is written, and the evil wind departed from him. There blow the wind of wisdom, and the wind of understanding, and the wind of knowledge, and the wind of the fear of Yahweh, as it is written. And the wind of Yahweh shall rest upon him, the wind of wisdom and understanding, the wind of counsel, and might, the wind of knowledge and of the fear. There blows the wind of rain, as it is written, the north wind bringeth forth rain. There blows the wind of lightnings, as it is written. He maketh lightnings for the rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasuries. There blows the wind breaking the rocks, as it is written. The Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains, and brake in pieces the rocks before the Lord. There blows the wind of assuagement of the sea, as it is written, and God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. There blows the wind of wrath, as it is written. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the four corners of the house, and it fell. There blows the storm wind, as it is written, storm wind fulfilling his word. And Satan is standing among these winds, for storm wind is nothing else but Satan. And all these winds do not blow, but under the wings of the cherubim, as it is written. And he rode upon a cherub, and did fly, yea, he flew swiftly upon the wings of the wind. And whither go all these winds? The scripture teaches us that they go out from under the wings of the cherubim, and descend on the globe of the sun, as it is written. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It turneth about continually in its course, and the wind returneth again to its circuits. And from the globe of the sun they return, and descend upon the rivers and the seas, upon the mountains and upon the hills, as it is written. For lo, he that formeth the mountains, and createth the wind. And from the mountains and the hills they return and descend to the seas and the rivers. And from the seas and the rivers they return and descend upon the cities and provinces. And from the cities and provinces they return and descend into the garden. And from the garden they return and descend to Eden, as it is written, walking in the garden in the wind of day. And in the midst of the garden they join together, and blow from one side to the other, and are perfumed with the spices of the garden, even from its remotest parts, until they separate from each other. And filled with the scent of the pure spices they bring the odor from the remotest parts of Eden, and the spices of the garden, to the righteous and godly who in the time to come shall inherit the garden of Eden and the tree of life, as it is written. Awake, O north wind, and come thou south. Blow upon my garden that the spices thereof may flow out. Let my beloved come into his garden and eat his precious fruits. Chapter 24. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the presence, the glory of all heaven, said to me, Numerous chariots has the Holy One, blessed be he. He has the chariots of the cherubim, as it is written, and he rode upon a cherub and did fly. He has the chariots of wind, as it is written, and he flew swiftly upon the wings of the wind. He has the chariots of the swift cloud, as it is written, Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud. He has the chariots of clouds, as it is written, Lo, I come unto the inner cloud. He has the chariots of the altar, as it is written, I saw the Lord standing upon the altar. He has the chariots of Ribotaim, as it is written, The chariots of God are Ribotaim, thousands of angels. He has the chariots of the tent, as it is written, And the Lord appeared in the tent in a pillar of cloud. He has the chariots of the tabernacle, as it is written, And the Lord spake unto him out of the tabernacle. He has the chariots of the mercy seat, as it is written, Then he heard the voice speaking unto him from upon the mercy seat. He has the chariots of sapphire stone, as it is written, And there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone. He has the chariots of eagles, as it is written, I bear you on eagles' wings. Eagles literally are not meant here, but they that fly swiftly as eagles. He has the chariots of shout, as it is written, God has gone up with a shout. He has the chariots of Araboth, as it is written, Extol him that rideth upon the Araboth. He has the chariots of thick clouds, as it is written, Who maketh the thick clouds his chariot. He has the chariots of the Chariot, as it is written, And the Chariot ran and returned. They run by permission and return by permission, for Shekinah is above their heads. He has the chariots of wheels, as it is written, and he said, Go in between the whirling wheels. He has the chariots of a swift cherub, as it is written, riding on a swift cherub. And at the time when he rides on a swift cherub, as he sets one of his feet upon him before he sets the other foot upon his back, he looks through 18,000 worlds at one glance, and he discerns and sees into them all, and knows what is in all of them. And then he sets down the other foot upon him, according as it is written, round about 18,000. Once do we know that he looks through every one of them, every day. It is written, He looked down from heaven upon the children of men, to see if there were any that did understand, that did seek after God. He has the chariots of Ophanim, as it is written, and Ophanim were full of eyes round about. He has the chariots of his holy throne, as it is written, God sitteth upon his holy throne. He has the chariots of the throne of Yah, as it is written, because a hand is lifted up upon the throne of Yah. He has the chariots of the throne of judgment, as it is written, But the Lord of hosts shall be exalted in judgment. He has the chariots of the throne of glory, as it is written, The throne of glory set on high from the beginning is the place of our sanctuary. He has the chariots of the high and exalted throne, as it is written, I saw the Lord sitting upon the high and exalted throne. Chapter 25. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron, the angel, the prince of the presence, said to me, Above these there is one great prince, revered high, lordly, fearful, ancient, and strong. Ophaniel is his name. He has 16 faces, 4 faces on each side, also 100 wings on each side. And he has 8,466 eyes, corresponding to the days of the year 2190, and some say 2,116 on each side. And those 2 eyes of his face, in each one of them, lightnings are flashing, and from each one of them, firebrands are burning. And no creature is able to behold them, for anyone who looks at them is burned instantly. His height is as the distance of 2,500 years' journey. No eye can behold, and no mouth can tell, the mighty power of his strength, save the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be he alone. Why is he called Ophaniel? Because he is appointed over the Ophanim, and the Ophanim are given in his charge. He stands every day, and attends and beautifies them. And he exalts and orders their apartment, and polishes their standing place, and makes bright their dwellings, makes their corners even, and cleanses their seats. And he waits upon them early and late by day and by night, to increase their beauty, to make great their dignity, and to make them diligent in praise of their Creator. And Ophanim are full of eyes, and they are all full of brightness. 72 sapphire stones are fixed on their garments on their right side, and 72 sapphire stones are fixed on their garments on their left side. and 4 carbuncle stones are fixed on the crown of every single one, the splendor of which proceeds in the 4 directions of Araboth, even as the splendor of the globe of the sun proceeds in all the directions of the universe. And why is it called carbuncle? Because its splendor is like the appearance of a lightning in tents of splendor, tents of brilliance, tents of brightness, as of sapphire and carbuncle, enclose them because of the shining appearance of their eyes. Chapter 26. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron. The angel, the prince of the presence, said to me, above these there is one prince, wonderful, noble, great, honorable, mighty, terrible, a chief and leader, and a swift scribe, glorified, honored, and beloved. He is altogether filled with splendor, full of praise and shining, and he is wholly full of brilliance of light and of beauty. And the whole of him is filled with goodliness and greatness. His countenance is altogether like that of angels, but his body is like an eagle's body. His splendor is like unto lightnings, his appearance like firebrands, his beauty like unto sparks, his honor like fiery coals, his majesty like chashmalim, his radiance like the light of the planet Venus. The image of him is like unto the greater light. His height is as the 7 heavens. The light from his eyebrows is like the 7-fold light. The sapphire stone upon his head is as great as the whole universe, and like unto the splendor of the very heavens in radiance. His body is full of eyes like the stars of the sky, innumerable and unsearchable. Every eye is like the planet Venus, yet there are some of them like the lesser light, and some of them like unto the greater light. From his ankles to his knees they are like unto stars of lightning. From his knees to his thighs like unto the planet Venus. From his thighs to his loins like unto the moon. From his loins to his neck like the sun. From his neck to his skull like unto the light imperishable. The crown on his head is like unto the splendor of the throne of glory. The measure of the crown is the distance of 502 years' journey. There is no kind of splendor, no kind of brilliance, no kind of radiance, no kind of light in the universe, but is fixed on that crown. The name of that prince is Seraphil, and the crown on his head, its name is the Prince of Peace. Why is he called by the name of Seraphil? Because he is appointed over the seraphim, and the flaming seraphim are given in his charge, and he presides over them by day and by night, and teaches them song praise, proclamation of beauty, might and majesty, that they may proclaim the beauty of their King in all manner of praise and sanctification. How many are the seraphim? 4 corresponding to the 4 winds of the world. And how many wings have they, each one of them? 6 corresponding to the 6 days of creation. And how many faces have they, each one of them? 4 faces. The measure of the seraphim and the height of each one of them correspond to the height of the 7 heavens. The size of each wing is like the measure of all Rakia. The size of each face is like that of the face of the east, and each one of them gives forth light like unto the splendor of the throne of glory, so that not even the holy Chayath, the honored Ophanin, nor the majestic cherubim are able to behold it for everyone who beholds it. His eyes are darkened because of its great splendor. Why are they called seraphim? Because they burn the writing tables of Satan every day. Satan is sitting together with Samael, the prince of Rome, and with Dubiel, the prince of Persia, and they write the iniquities of Israel on writing tables, which they hand over to the seraphim, in order that they may present them before the Holy One, blessed be He, so that he may destroy Israel from the world. But the seraphim know from the secrets of the Holy One, blessed be He, that He desires not that this people Israel should perish. What do the seraphim do every day? They receive them from the hand of Satan and burn them in the burning fire over against the high and exalted throne, in order that they may not come before the Holy One. Blessed be He at the time when He is sitting upon the throne of judgment, judging the whole world in truth. Chapter 27. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron, the angel of Yahweh, the prince of the presence, said to me, above the seraphim there is one prince exalted above all the princes, wondrous more than all the servants. His name is Radwariel, who is appointed over the treasuries of the books. He fetches forth the case of writings with the book of records in it, and brings it before the Holy One, blessed be He. And he breaks the seals of the case, opens it, takes out the books, and delivers them before the Holy One, blessed be He. And the Holy One, blessed be, he receives them of his hand, and gives them in his sight to the scribes, that they may read them in the great Beth Din, in the height of Araboth Rakia, before the heavenly household. Why is he called Radwarius? Because out of every word that goes forth from his mouth, an angel is created, and he stands in the singing company of the ministering angels, and utters a song before the Holy One, blessed be he, when the time draws nigh for the recitation of the thrice holy. Chapter 28. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron. The angel, the prince of the present, said to me, above all these, there are 4 great princes, Iron and Kadishan by name, high-honored, revered, beloved, wonderful and glorious ones, greater than all the children of heaven. There is none like unto them among all the celestial princes, and none their equal among all the servants, for each one of them is equal to all the rest together. And their dwelling is over against the throne of glory, and their standing place over against the Holy One. Blessed be he, so that the brilliance of their dwelling is a reflection of the brilliance of the throne of glory. And the splendor of their countenance is a reflection of the splendor of Shekinah. And they are glorified by the glory of the divine majesty, and praised by the praise of Shekinah. And not only that, but the Holy One, blessed be. He does nothing in his world without first consulting them, but after that, he doth with it as it is written. The sentence is by the decree of the Irin, and the demand by the word of the Kadishan. The Irin are 2, and the Kadishan are 2. And how are they standing before the Holy One? Blessed be he. It is to be understood that one ear is standing on one side, and the other ear on the other side, and one Kadish is standing on one side, and the other on the other side. And ever do they exalt the humble, and they abase to the ground those that are proud, and they exalt to the height those that are humble. And every day is the Holy One, blessed be. He is sitting upon the throne of judgment, and judges the whole world, and the books of the living and the books of the dead are open before him. Then all the children of heaven are standing before him in fear, dread, awe, and trembling. At that time, when the Holy One, blessed be, he is sitting upon the throne of judgment to execute judgment. His garment is white as snow, the hair on his head is pure wool, and the whole of his cloak is like the shining light. And he is covered with righteousness all over, as with a coat of mail. And those Iron and Kadishan are standing before him like court officers before the judge. And they raise and argue every case, and close the case that comes before the Holy One. Blessed be he in judgment, according as it is written. The sentence is by the decree of the Irin, and the demand by the word of the Kadishan. Some of them argue, and others pass the sentence in the great Beth Din in Araboth. Some of them make the requests from before the divine majesty, and some close the cases before the Most High. Others finish by going down and executing the sentences on earth below, according as it is written. Behold, an Ayir and a Kaddish came down from heaven, and cried aloud, and said thus, Hew down the tree and cut off his branches, shake off his leaves and scatter his fruit, let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches. Why are they called Iron and Kadisha? By reason that they sanctify the body and the spirit with lashes of fire on the 3rd day of the judgment, as it is written. After 2 days will he revive us. On the 3rd he will raise us up, and we shall live before him. Chapter 29. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, each one of them has 70 names corresponding to the 70 tongues of the world, and all of them are based upon the name of the Holy One, blessed be he. And every several name is written with a flaming style upon the fearful crown which is on the head of the high and exalted king. And from each one of them there go forth sparks and lightnings, and each one of them is beset with horns of splendor round about. From each one lights are shining forth, and each one is surrounded by tents of brilliance, so that not even the seraphim and the Chariot, who are greater than all the children of heaven, are able to behold them. Chapter 30. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron, the angel, the prince of the presence, said to me, whenever the great Beth Din is seated in the Araboth Rakia on high, there is no opening of the mouth for anyone in the world, save those great princes who are called Yahweh, by the name of the Holy One, blessed be he. How many are those princes? 72 princes of the kingdoms of the world, besides the prince of the world who speaks in favor of the world before the Holy One. Blessed be he. every day at the hour when the book is opened, in which are recorded all the doings of the world, according as it is written. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. Chapter 31. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, at the time when the Holy One, blessed be, he is sitting on the throne of judgment, then justice is standing on his right, and mercy on his left, and truth before his face. And when man enters before him to judgment, then there comes forth from the splendor of the mercy towards him as it were a staff, and stands in front of him. Forthwith man falls upon his face, and all the angels of destruction fear and tremble before him, according as it is written. And with mercy shall the throne be established, and he shall sit upon it in truth. Chapter 32. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron, the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, when the Holy One, blessed be, he opens the book, half of which is fire and half flame. Then they go out from before him in every moment to execute the judgment on the wicked by his sword that is drawn forth out of its sheath, and the splendor of which shines like a lightning, and pervades the world from one end to the other, as it is written. For by fire will the Lord plead, and by his sword with all flesh. And all the inhabitants of the world fear and tremble before him, when they behold his sharpened sword, like unto a lightning from one end of the world to the other, and sparks and flashes of the size of the stars of Rakia going out from it, according as it is written, if I whet the lightning of my sword. Chapter 33. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, at the time that the Holy One, blessed be, he is sitting on the throne of judgment, then the angels of mercy are standing on his right. The angels of peace are standing on his left, and the angels of destruction are standing in front of him. And one scribe is standing beneath him, and another scribe above him. And the glorious seraphim surround the throne on its four sides with walls of lightnings, and the Ophanins surround them with firebrands round about the throne of glory. And clouds of fire and clouds of flames compass them to the right and to the left, and the holy Chariot carry the throne of glory from below each one with 3 fingers. The measure of the fingers of each one is 866,000 parasangs. And underneath the feet of the Chariot 7 fiery rivers are running and flowing. And the breadth of each river is 365,000 parasangs, and its depth is 248,000 myriads of parasangs. Its length is unsearchable and immeasurable. And each river turns round in a bow, and the 4 directions of Araboth Rakia, and from there it falls down to Maon and is stayed. And from Maon to Zebul, from Zebul to Shehakim to Rakia, from Rakia to Shemaim, and from Shemaim upon the heads of the wicked who are in Gehenna, as it is written. Behold, a whirlwind of the Lord, even his fury is gone, yea, a whirling tempest. It shall burst upon the head of the wicked. Chapter 34. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, the hoofs of the Chariot are surrounded by 7 clouds of burning coals. The clouds of burning coals are surrounded on the outside by 7 walls of flames. The 7 walls of flames are surrounded on the outside by 7 walls of hailstones. The hailstones are surrounded on the outside by stones of hail, the stone of Barad. The stones of hail are surrounded on the outside by stones of the wings of the tempest. The stones of the wings of the tempest are surrounded on the outside by flames of fire. The flames of fire are surrounded by the chambers of the whirlwind. The chambers of the whirlwind are surrounded on the outside by the fire and the water. Round about the fire and the water are those who utter the holy. Round about those who utter the holy are those who utter the blessed. Round about those who utter the blessed are the bright clouds. The bright clouds are surrounded on the outside by coals of burning juniper. And on the outside, surrounding the coals of burning juniper, there are 1,000 camps of fire and 10,000 hosts of flames. And between every several camp and every several hosts, there is a cloud so that they may not be burnt by the fire. Chapter 35. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron, the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, 506,000 myriads of camps has the Holy One, blessed be he, in the height of Araboth Rakia, and each camp is composed of 496,000 angels, and every single angel. The height of his stature is as the great sea, and the appearance of their countenance as the appearance of the lightning, and their eyes as lamps of fire, and their arms and their feet like in color to polished brass, and the roaring voice of their words like the voice of a multitude. And they are all standing before the throne of glory in 4 rows, and the princes of the army are standing at the head of each row. And some of them utter the holy, and others utter the blessed. Some of them run as messengers, others are standing in attendance, according as it is written. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were open. And in the hour when the time draws nigh for to say the holy, then first there goes forth a whirlwind from before the Holy One, blessed be he, and bursts upon the camp of Shekinah, and there arises a great commotion among them, as it is written, Behold, the whirlwind of the Lord goeth forth with fury, a continuing commotion. At that moment, thousands of them are changed into sparks, thousands of them into firebrands, thousands into flashes, thousands into flames, thousands into males, thousands into females, thousands into winds, thousands into burning fires, thousands into flames, thousands into sparks, thousands into shashmalim of light, until they take upon themselves the yoke of the kingdom of heaven, the high and lifted up of the Creator of them all, with fear, dread awe, and trembling with commotion, anguish, terror, and trepidation. Then they are changed again into their former shape to have the fear of their King before them always, as they have set their hearts on saying the song continually, as it is written. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy. Chapter 36. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel. The prince of the presence said to me, at the time when the ministering angels desire to say the song, then the Nehardiner, or the fiery stream, rises with many thousands, and myriads of angels of power and strength of fire, and it runs and passes under the throne of glory between the camps of the ministering angels and the troops of Araboth. And all the ministering angels first go down into Nehardiner, and they dip themselves in the fire, and dip their tongue and their mouth 7 times. And after that they go up and put on the garment of Meshok Samal, and cover themselves with cloaks of Shashmal, and stand in 4 rows over against the throne of glory in all the heavens. Chapter 37. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel. The prince of the presence said to me, in the 7 halls there are standing 4 chariots of Shekinah, and before each one are standing the 4 camps of Shekinah. Between each camp a river of fire is continually flowing. Between each river there are bright clouds surrounding them, and between each cloud there are put up pillars of brimstone. Between one pillar and another there are standing flaming wheels surrounding them, and between one wheel and another there are flames of fire round about. Between one flame and another there are treasuries of lightnings. Behind the treasuries of lightnings are the wings of the storm wind. Behind the wings of the storm wind are the chambers of the tempest. Behind the chambers of the tempest there are winds, voices, thunder, sparks upon sparks, and earthquakes upon earthquakes. Chapter 38. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron. The angel, the prince of the presence, said to me, at the time when the ministering angels utter the thrice holy, then all the pillars of the heavens and their sockets do tremble, and the gates of the halls of Araboth Rakia are shaken, and the foundations of Shehakim and the universe, the Tevel, are moved. And the orders of Maon and the chambers of Macon quiver. And all the orders of Rakia and the constellations and the planets are dismayed, and the globes of the sun and the moon haste away and flee out of their courses, and run 12,000 parasangs, and seek to throw themselves down from heaven by reason of the roaring voice of their chant and the noise of their praise, and the sparks and lightnings that go forth from their faces, as it is written, The voice of thy thunder was in the heaven, and the lightnings lightened the world. The earth trembled and shook, until the prince of the world calls them, saying, Be quiet in your place, fear not, because of the ministering angels, who sing the song before the Holy One, blessed be he. As it is written, when the morning stars sang together, and all the children of heaven shouted for joy. Chapter 39. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, "When the ministering angels utter the holy, then all the explicit names that are graven with a flaming style on the throne of glory fly off like eagles with 16 wings, and they surround and compass the Holy One, blessed be He, on the 4 sides of the place of Shekinah. And the angels of the host, and the flaming servants, and the mighty Ophanim, and the cherubim of the Shekinah, and the holy Chariot, and the seraphim, and the iron, and the Tafsarim, and the troops of consuming fire, and the fiery armies, and the flaming hosts, and the holy princes, adorned with crowns, clad in kingly majesty, wrapped in glory, girt with loftiness, fall upon their faces, 3 times saying, Blessed be the name of His glorious kingdom forever and ever." Chapter 40. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, "When the ministering angels say, Holy, before the Holy One, blessed be He, in the proper way, then the servants of His throne, the attendants of His glory, go forth with great mirth from under the throne of glory. And they all carry in their hands, each one of them, 1 quintillion crowns of stars, similar in appearance to the planet Venus, and put them on the ministering angels and the great princes who utter the holy. 3 crowns they put on each one of them. 1 crown, because they say holy; another crown, because they say holy, holy; and a 3rd crown, because they say holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. And in the moment that they do not utter the holy, in the right order, a consuming fire goes forth from the little finger of the Holy One, blessed be He, and falls down in the midst of their ranks, and is divided into 496,000 parts, corresponding to the 4 camps of the ministering angels, and consumes them in 1 moment, as it is written, A fire goeth before Him, and burneth up His adversaries round about. After that, the Holy One, blessed be, He opens His mouth and speaks 1 word, and creates others in their stead, new ones like them, and each one stands before His throne of glory, uttering the holy, as it is written, They are new every morning. Great is Thy faithfulness." Chapter 41. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, "Come and behold the letters by which the heaven and the earth were created, the letters by which were created the mountains and hills, the letters by which were created the seas and rivers, the letters by which were created the trees and herbs, the letters by which were created the planets and the constellations, the letters by which were created the globe of the moon and the globe of the sun, Orion, the Pleiades, and all the different luminaries of Rakia, the letters by which were created the throne of glory, and the wheels of the Merkabah, the letters by which were created the necessities of the worlds, the letters by which were created wisdom, understanding, knowledge, prudence, meekness, and righteousness, by which the whole world is sustained. And I walked by His side, and He took me by His hand, and raised me upon His wings, and showed me those letters, all of them, that are graven with a flaming style on the throne of glory, and sparks go forth from them, and cover all the chambers of Araboth. Chapter 42. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, "Come, and I will show thee where the waters are suspended in the highest, where fire is burning in the midst of hail, where lightnings lighten out of the midst of snowy mountains, where thunders are roaring in the celestial heights, where a flame is burning in the midst of the burning fire, and where voices make themselves heard in the midst of thunder and earthquake." Then I went by His side, and He took me by His hand, and lifted me up on His wings, and showed me all those things. I beheld the waters suspended on high in Araboth Rakia, by the name that is Yah, I am that I am, and their fruits going down from heaven, and watering the face of the world, as it is written, He watereth the mountains from His chambers. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of Thy work. And I saw fire and snow and hailstone that were mingled together within each other, and yet were undamaged by the name Ash Okala, as it is written, For the Lord thy God is a consuming fire. And I saw lightnings that were lightning out of mountains of snow, and yet were not damaged by the name Yatsur Olamim, as it is written, For the everlasting rock. And I saw thunders and voices that were roaring in the midst of fiery flames, and were not damaged by the name El Shaddai Rabbah, as it is written. I am God Almighty, and I beheld a flame and a glow that were flaming and glowing in the midst of burning fire, and yet were not damaged by the name Yad al-Kasiyah, as it is written. And he said, For the hand is upon the throne of the Lord. And I beheld rivers of fire in the midst of rivers of water. And they were not damaged by the name Oseh Shalom, as it is written. He maketh peace in his high places. For he makes peace between the fire and the water, between the hail and the fire, between the wind and the cloud, between the earthquake and the sparks. Chapter 43. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron said to me, Come, and I will show thee the spirits of the righteous that have been created and have returned, and the spirits of the righteous that have not yet been created. And he lifted me up to his side, took me by his hand, and lifted me up near the throne of glory, by the place of the Shekinah. And he revealed the throne of glory to me, and he showed me the spirits that have been created and had returned, and they were flying above the throne of glory before the Holy One, blessed be he. After that, I went to interpret the following verse of Scripture, and I found in what is written, For the Spirit clothed itself before me, and the souls I have made. That means the spirits that have been created in the chamber of creation of the righteous, and that have returned before the Holy One, blessed be he. And the words, and the souls I have made, refer to the spirits of the righteous that have not yet been created in the chamber or guff. Chapter 44. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron the angel, the prince of the present, said to me, Come, and I will show thee the spirits of the wicked, and the spirits of the intermediate, where they are standing, and the spirits of the intermediate, whither they go down, and the spirits of the wicked, where they go down. And he said to me, The spirits of the wicked go down to Sheol by the hands of two angels of destruction. Their names are Sinkiel and Zaviel. Sinkiel is appointed over the intermediate to support them and purify them because of the great mercy of the prince of the place. Zaviel is appointed over the spirits of the wicked in order to cast them down from the presence of the Holy One. Blessed be he, and from the splendor of the Shekinah to Sheol to be punished in the fire of Gehenna with staves of burning coal. And I went by his side, and he took me by his hand, and showed me all of them with his fingers. And I beheld the appearance of their faces. And lo, it was as the appearance of children of men, and their bodies like eagles. And not only that, but furthermore the color of the countenance of the intermediate was like pale gray on account of their deeds. For there are stains upon them, until they have become cleaned from their iniquity in the fire. And the color of the wicked was like the bottom of a pot, on account of the wickedness of their doings. And I saw the spirits of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the rest of the righteous whom they have brought up out of their graves, and who have ascended to the heaven, and they were praying before the Holy One. Blessed be he, saying in their prayer, Lord of the universe, how long wilt thou sit upon thy throne like a mourner in the days of his mourning with thy right hand behind thee, and not deliver thy children, and reveal thy kingdom in the world? And for how long wilt thou have no pity upon thy children, who are made slaves among the nations of the world? Nor upon thy right hand that is behind thee, wherewith thou didst stretch out the heavens and the earth and the heavens of heavens. When wilt thou have compassion? Then the Holy One, blessed be, he answered every one of them, saying, Since these wicked do sin so and so, and transgress with such and such transgressions against me, how could I deliver my great right hand in the downfall by their hands? In that moment Metatron called me and spake to me, My servant, take the books and read their evil doings. Forthwith I took the books and read their doings, and there were to be found 36 transgressions written down with regard to each wicked one. And besides that, they have transgressed all the letters in the Torah, as it is written, Ye all Israel have transgressed thy law. It is not written al Torah takiha, but Toroteka, for they have transgressed from Aleph to Tau. 40 statutes have they transgressed for each letter. Forthwith Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob wept. Then said to them the Holy One, blessed be he, Abraham, my beloved Isaac, my elect one, Jacob, my firstborn, how can I now deliver them from among the nations of the world? And forthwith Michael the prince of Israel cried and wept with a loud voice and said, Why standest thou afar off, O Lord? Chapter 45. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron said to me, "Come, and I will show thee the curtain of the divine majesty which is spread before the Holy One. Blessed be he, and whereon are graven all the generations of the world, and all their doings, both what they have done and what they will do, until the end of all generations." And I went, and he showed it to me, pointing it out with his fingers, like a father who teaches his children the letters of Torah. And I saw each generation, the rulers of each generation, and the heads of each generation, the shepherds of each generation, the oppressors of each generation, the keepers of each generation, the scourges of each generation, the overseers of each generation, the judges of each generation, the court officers of each generation, the teachers of each generation, the supporters of each generation, the chiefs of each generation, the presidents of academies of each generation, the magistrates of each generation, the princes of each generation, the counselors of each generation, the nobles of each generation, and the men of might of each generation, the elders of each generation, and the guides of each generation. And I saw Adam and his generation, their doings and their thoughts, Noah and his generation, their doings and their thoughts, and the generation of the flood, their doings and their thoughts, Shem and his generation, their doings and their thoughts, Nimrod and the generation of the confusion of tongues, and his generation, their doings and their thoughts, Abraham and his generation, their doings and their thoughts, Isaac and his generation, their doings and their thoughts, Ishmael and his generation, their doings and their thoughts, Jacob and his generation, their doings and their thoughts, Joseph and his generation, their doings and their thoughts, the tribes and their generation, their doings and their thoughts, Amram and his generation, their doings and their thoughts, Moses and his generation, their doings and their thoughts, Aaron and Miriam, their works and their doings, the princes and the elders, their works and doings, Joshua and his generation, their works and doings, the judges and their generation, their works and doings, Eli and his generation, their works and doings, Phinehas, their works and doings, Elkanah and his generation, their works and their doings, Samuel and his generation, their works and doings, the kings of Judah with their generations, their works and their doings, the kings of Israel and their generations, their works and their doings, the princes of Israel, their works and their doings, the princes of the nations of the world, their works and their doings, the heads of the councils of Israel, their works and their doings, the heads of the councils and the nations of the world, their generations, their works and their doings, the rulers of Israel and their generation, their works and their doings, the nobles of Israel and their generation, their works and their doings, the nobles of the nations of the world and their generations, their works and their doings, the men of reputation in Israel, their generation, their works and their doings, the judges of Israel, their generation, their works and their doings, the judges of the nations of the world and their generation, their works and their doings, the teachers of children in Israel, their generations, their works and their doings, the teachers of children in the nations of the world, their generations, their works and their doings, the counselors of Israel, their generation, their works and their doings, the counselors of the nations of the world, their generation, their works and their doings, all the prophets of Israel, their generation, their works and their doings, all the prophets of the nations of the world, their generation, their works and their doings, and all the fights and wars that the nations of the world wrought against the people of Israel in the time of their kingdom. And I saw Messiah, son of Joseph, and his generation, and their works and their doings that they will do against the nations of the world. And I saw Messiah, son of David, and his generation, and all the fights and wars, and their works and their doings that they will do with Israel, both for good and evil. And I saw all the fights and wars that Gog and Magog will fight in the days of Messiah, and all that the Holy One, blessed be, he will do with them in the time to come, and all the rest of all the leaders of the generations, and all the works of the generations, both in Israel and in the nations of the world. Both what is done, and what will be, and what will be done hereafter to all generations until the end of time, all were graven on the curtain of Makom. And I saw all these things with my eyes. And after I had seen it, I opened my mouth in praise of Makom, the divine majesty, saying thus, For the king's word hath power, and who may say unto him, What doest thou? Whoso keepeth the commandments shall know no evil thing. And I said, O Lord, how manifold are thy works. Chapter 46. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron said to me, Come, and I will show thee the space of the stars that are standing in Rakia night by night, in fear of the Almighty the Makom, and I will show thee where they go and where they stand. I walked by his side, and he took me by his hand, and pointed out all to me with his fingers. And they were standing on sparks of flames round the Merkabah of the Almighty. What did Metatron do at that moment? He clapped his hands and chased them off from their place. Forthwith they flew off on flaming wings, rose and fled from the four sides of the throne of the Merkabah. And as they flew, he told me the names of every single one as it is written. He telleth the number of the stars, he giveth them all their names, teaching that the Holy One blessed be, he has given a name to each one of them. And they all enter in counted order under the guidance of Rahatil, to Rakia Hashem, to serve the world, and they go out in counted order to praise the Holy One. Blessed be he with songs and hymns, according as it is written. The heavens declare the glory of God. But in the time to come, the Holy One blessed be, he will create them anew, as it is written. They are new every morning, and they open their mouth and utter a song, which is the song that they utter, when I consider thy heavens. Chapter 47. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron said to me, Come, and I will show thee the souls of the angels and the spirits of the ministering servants, whose bodies have been burnt in the fire of the Almighty that goes forth from his little finger. And they have been made into fiery coals in the midst of the fiery river. But their spirits and their souls are standing behind the Shekinah. Whenever the ministering angels utter a song at a wrong time, or is not appointed to be sung, they are burnt and consumed by the fire of their Creator, and by a flame from their Maker in the places of the whirlwind, for it blows upon them and drives them into the Nahardiner, and there they are made into numerous mountains of burning coal. But their spirit and their soul return to their Creator, and all are standing behind their Master. And I went by his side, and he took me by his hand, and he showed me all the souls of the angels and the spirits of the ministering servants, who were standing behind the Shekinah upon wings of the whirlwind and walls of fire surrounding them. At that moment, Metatron opened to me the gates of the walls within which they were standing behind the Shekinah. And I lifted up my eyes and saw them. And behold, the likeness of everyone was as that of angels, and their wings like birds' wings made out of flames, the work of burning fire. In that moment I opened my mouth in praise of Makom and said, How great are thy works, O Lord. Chapter 48a. Rabbi Ishmael said, Metatron said to me, Come, and I will show thee the right hand of Makom, the divine place laid behind him, because of the destruction of the holy temple. From this hand all splendor and light shine forth. And by it the 955 heavens were created, a glory so great that not even the seraphim or the Ophanim are permitted to behold it until the day of salvation. And he led me to it, and I beheld a majesty that no mouth can tell, nor any eye can fully grasp. There the souls of the righteous gather 3 times every day, crying out, Awake, awake, put on strength, O arm of the Lord. In that moment, the right hand of Makom wept, and from its 5 fingers flowed 5 rivers of tears that shook the very foundations of the world. But the Holy One, blessed be he, spoke. Since there is no righteous man like Moses, and no intercessor like Samuel, to plead for the salvation of my children, I shall remember my own justice and mercy. For my own sake and for the sake of my righteousness, I will deliver my arm by myself. At that moment, he will reveal his great arm to all nations, a light as brilliant as the summer sun. And Messiah shall appear to bring Israel back to Jerusalem with great joy. The nations shall not prevail, for the Lord shall be king over all the earth. Chapter 48b. Note: this section contains the 72 sacred names written upon the heart of the Holy One. Many of these names are hidden mysteries. Some are unpronounceable, others consist of but a single letter, representing the unutterable vibrations of the divine. SS, Sedek, Besai Elzer, Espi, Static, S Fuach, Shun, Sub Aof, Shaddai, Elohim, Yahweh, SH, Dagul, Waidom, SSS, YW, Y, HW, HB, Yah, HW, WWW, SSS, PPP, NN, HH, Hey Living, Hey, Rokab Araboth, YH, HH, WH, MMM, NN, HWW, YH, YHH, HPHS, H's, I, W, SO, Z, QQQ, QSHR, BW, ZK, Gainer, Genaria, Waj, Yod, Olive, Ashin, Peep, RW, YYWY, YYW, BBB, DD, TTT, KKK, KLL, Cis, X, TBSH, KMLW. Blessed be the name of his glorious kingdom forever and ever. Completed for Makom Olam, the King of the universe. This is the beginning of wisdom for the children of men. Blessed be he who gives strength to the weary and increases power to those who have no might. For they go forth adorned with crowns of fire, crowns of flame, and crowns of lightning from before the throne of glory. And they are escorted by thousands of powerful angels with honor, majesty, and fear as they return to the place of the throne of glory. And the Chariot of the Merkabah open their mouths in praise of his glorious name, saying, Blessed be the name of his glorious kingdom forever and ever. You have just heard some of the most forbidden chapters of the book of 3 Enoch, but did the numbers and titles you just heard leave you feeling overwhelmed? In reality, what we have seen so far is only the surface of a much deeper mystery. When we step into the pages of this book, we are not simply encountering ancient language. We are entering an entirely different worldview, one in which angels do not resemble the small, gentle figures that appear in many Renaissance paintings. The truth about their scale goes far beyond human imagination. So let us carefully uncover some of the most astonishing mysteries hidden within this text. The mystery of the gigantic size of angels. Most people imagine angels as human-like beings with wings. Yet the book of 3 Enoch completely shatters that assumption with descriptions that make readers pause and wonder, what exactly did Enoch see? A scale beyond measurement. In the text, angelic beings do not fit inside the physical space we know. The book describes their size as so vast that it would take 500 years for an ordinary person to walk the length of just one wing of an angel. Imagine that for a moment. If a single wing could span a distance that enormous, how many layers of heaven would the being itself occupy? Visualizing the unimaginable. The text does not describe angels using normal units of measurement. Instead, it uses time 500 years of walking to help readers grasp their magnitude. This suggests that 3 Enoch may be trying to describe something that exists in a higher dimension. These beings do not simply stand inside our space. In a sense, they contain that space within themselves. Why is this so shocking? When these beings are placed within the picture of heaven described in the text, the smallness of humanity becomes impossible to ignore. If the movement of a single wing could unleash storms, as earlier chapters describe with winds and fire, then Enoch standing before such beings is extraordinary. And the story goes even further. Enoch is not merely a witness. According to 3 Enoch, he is transformed into Metatron. This is not simply a spiritual journey. It describes a transformation that seems to reach beyond every physical law we understand. Do you feel a sense of awe when imagining this scale? These descriptions are one of the reasons many ancient Jewish scholars considered this text dangerous. Because when readers encounter passages like these, they begin to realize that the world we know may only be a very thin layer of a much greater reality. And there is something even more astonishing behind these descriptions. Within Jewish mystical tradition, especially the stream known as Merkabah, mysticism, the immense size of angels, is not merely meant to impress the reader. It is a way of expressing the power and structure of the cosmos. In these writings, angels are often described with thousands of eyes, hundreds of wings, or heights that stretch across multiple heavens. These numbers are not simply exaggerations. They are symbolic language used by ancient writers to describe beings that exist beyond the limits of three-dimensional space. So when 3 Enoch tells us that a single angelic wing could require 500 years to cross the message, is not really about physical size. The deeper message is that these beings belong to a cosmic order that human language can only describe through symbols. This also explains why Enoch, an ordinary human being, had to undergo a complete transformation before entering that realm. According to 3 Enoch, when Enoch is taken into heaven, he no longer remains simply a human. He is transformed into Metatron, one of the most powerful beings in the heavenly realm, often called the Prince of the Presence. In other words, a human being cannot enter that realm while remaining exactly as they are. And when we place this detail beside the enormous descriptions of the angels, the larger picture begins to come into focus. 3. Enoch is not merely telling a story about heaven. It is describing a structured universe, a hierarchy of existence, a cosmic order governed by laws beyond human understanding, where humanity occupies only the lowest level of a vast and complex reality. And that realization is precisely why this text has remained controversial for centuries. Because once people begin to glimpse the true scale of the universe, they also begin to ask a deeper question. Where exactly do we stand within it? Where ultimately did human beings come from? Why do humans live on this earth? Where are the divine beings? And why are human beings unable to see them? Questions like these may seem profound, yet the answer may not be as difficult as many imagine. Divine beings exist in the realm of the divine, while demons dwell within their own domain. Only when a person cultivates and ascends to the level of a divine being can they truly perceive the divine. However, many people choose to believe only in the world that their eyes can see and their ears can hear, assuming that only what can be directly perceived through the senses is real. Yet there are many things that we cannot see or touch that science has already proven to exist. For example, electromagnetic waves, infrared radiation, ultraviolet light, and subatomic particles. So then we must ask, if something cannot be seen with the eyes, does that truly mean it does not exist? The answer lies with those who have crossed that veil and touched eternity. We often doubt because we stand outside the experience. Yet throughout human history, there have been men and women of flesh and blood who, through spiritual cultivation and the unfolding of destiny, reached a level of realization where they could see and even communicate with higher beings. Enoch, the ancient sage we have been exploring, stands as a powerful example of this. He did not merely witness the heavenly realm. According to the tradition, he was transformed and became part of the heavenly kingdom itself. And if Enoch was once a mortal who ascended, he was not the only figure in the spiritual history of humanity. Look at the journey of Enoch in the book of 3 Enoch to understand the price of truly seeing. Enoch was not simply a sage taken up into heaven. He was the first figure in mystical tradition to undergo one of the most dramatic transformations ever described. For Enoch, standing before the throne of the Most High required the complete abandonment of everything that belonged to his former human identity. The book does not portray this ascent as a peaceful journey. Instead, it describes something closer to a sacred cremation. Enoch had to die so that Metatron could be born. This is one of the most controversial and striking elements of the story. His flesh is described as being burned away in order to be reborn. His bones dissolve into radiant light. From the loss of his former identity emerge 36 wings. This is not a gentle elevation. It is a painful transformation meant to completely dissolve the human ego. Why must one surrender the entire self in exchange for power? Is this loss a form of liberation, or is it an unbearable price for eternal existence? This raises an even deeper question. Perhaps our identity and consciousness are not truly rooted in the physical body at all. Ancient thinkers often believed that the body was merely a garment, while the soul was the true life of a being. For a long time, such ideas were dismissed as superstition. Yet certain discoveries in modern science are forcing us to reconsider this assumption. For centuries, we have believed that thought originates in the brain, a product of matter organized at a highly complex level. This idea was reinforced by materialist philosophy and by physiological experiments, such as those conducted by Ivan Pavlov. But if the brain is the sole source of thought, how can we explain some extraordinary cases recorded in medical history? Medical literature has documented rare individuals who have lived with what appears to be almost no brain tissue at all. Despite severe destruction or absence of large portions of the brain, these individuals continue to live and function normally. One remarkable case dates back to 1935, when Professor John Lorber in the United Kingdom examined a mathematics student with an intelligence quotient of 126. To the astonishment of researchers, the inside of the student's skull contained almost no brain tissue. Normally, the two hemispheres of the brain fill the skull with a depth of 4 to 5 centimeters. Yet this student had only about 1 millimeter of brain tissue lining the top of the spinal column. Even more astonishing, he lived a normal life, performed extremely well academically, and earned honors in mathematics. Another case was reported in the French medical journal The Lancet. Dr. Lionel Feuillet at Timon Hospital in Marseille examined a 44-year-old man who had been living an ordinary life with a wife and 2 children. He came to the hospital complaining of weakness in his left leg. When doctors performed CT scans and MRI imaging, they discovered that the ventricles of his brain were massively enlarged, while the brain tissue itself, both gray matter and white matter, was almost entirely absent. Yet this man had lived normally for decades. These cases reveal something remarkable. Even with severely damaged or nearly empty brains, human consciousness and thought can still function. Such observations have led some researchers to consider a bold hypothesis. Perhaps the brain is not the true origin of thought. Perhaps it functions more like a receiver or transmitter, while the deeper source of consciousness lies somewhere beyond the physical body within the soul. If thought does not entirely depend on neural cells, then Enoch's transformation in which his physical body is consumed, while his awareness ascends to eternal wisdom, may no longer seem like pure fantasy. It may reflect a deeper truth about the separation of the soul from the limits of matter. And when viewed through this lens, we begin to recognize something profound. Human history has never been without those rare travelers who have crossed beyond the veil of the finite. In truth, from the earliest ages of civilization until today, human history has never been without those rare travelers who crossed the boundary between the visible world and the greater reality beyond it. Enoch was one of the earliest pioneers. His journey from a mortal scribe recording sacred writings to the heavenly being known as the angel Metatron is not simply an ancient story. It represents a blueprint for the elevation of the soul. Yet if Enoch was able to walk this path, then his story is not an isolated event. Across the vast flow of time, enlightened masters have appeared in different ages, leaving behind radiant footprints along the path of spiritual cultivation, a path that humanity has always looked toward with awe and reverence. So then, who are the divine beings and the Buddhas in essence? And what have they truly left behind for humanity? Let us look at the footprints left by the enlightened ones. More than 2,500 years ago, after Shakyamuni Buddha attained awakening through spiritual cultivation, he manifested many divine signs and miracles. People of that era witnessed them with their own eyes and recorded them. For 49 years, he continuously taught the Dharma, the universal law and truth of cultivation. Later, his teachings were compiled and organized into numerous sutras, which were passed down to future generations. Monks of later generations followed these scriptures in their spiritual cultivation, and many great monks and virtuous masters emerged from their practice. Historical records describe numerous miraculous events witnessed by the people of ancient India. If those events were acknowledged by the people of that time, do we not still recognize Shakyamuni Buddha today as a divine being? More than 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ traveled with his disciples, spreading the teachings of salvation and guiding people towards spiritual transformation. During that time, he also manifested many miracles. The people of that era witnessed these events and recorded them. The teachings Jesus gave to his disciples later became known as the New Testament. In later generations, many Christian believers followed these teachings in their faith and spiritual practice and became revered saints. Since the people of that time witnessed these events, and even people in the modern era still acknowledge Jesus as a divine figure, should we not also recognize Jesus as a divine being? Around the same time, more than 2,500 years ago, Laozi left behind the Tao Te Ching, which became a foundational scripture guiding spiritual cultivation within the Taoist tradition. Together with earlier classics, such as the Yin Fu Jing and the Huangdi Ne Jing, the Tao Te Ching formed the core of Taoist culture and laid the philosophical foundation of traditional Chinese civilization. In later generations, many practitioners followed these teachings and attained the state of Genren, true realized beings who had attained the Tao. Should we not also acknowledge Laozi as a divine being? So then, who truly are the divine being? Shakyamuni, Buddha, Jesus Christ, and Laozi. They are all divine beings. What they left behind is a body of transcendent teachings and universal principles far beyond the ordinary system of human knowledge, something that humanity itself could never have created. Moreover, throughout their lives, they demonstrated many divine manifestations and miracles that human ability alone could never accomplish. And in later generations, countless seekers of the way followed these teachings in spiritual cultivation, ultimately reaching states of transcendence and sanctity. But at this point, you may begin to ask a deeper question. If these enlightened beings were truly so great, if divine beings truly existed as history has recorded, then why is it that in the modern world we no longer witness such miracles? Has the divine abandoned humanity? Or have we simply lost the ability to recognize them? Who has ever seen the divine? In truth, people of ancient times did see them. Divine beings were not distant abstractions. They once appeared directly before human eyes. So the real question is not whether the divine exists, but rather, why do the divine not reveal themselves for us to see? Shakyamuni Buddha once taught that there are 84,000 Dharma gates, 84,000 paths of cultivation within the Buddhist way. The Taoist tradition teaches that there are 3,600 methods of cultivating the Tao. Shakyamuni Buddha also said that the Buddhas at the level of the Tathagata are as numerous as the grains of sand in the Ganges River. The Ganges is the largest river in India, stretching about 2,700 kilometers in length. Just imagine how many grains of sand lie within such a river. Ancient sages in the East also taught a saying, 3 feet above one's head dwell divine beings. If divine beings are so numerous, why then can humans not see them? Can anyone who wishes to see the divine simply see them? Or is there some reason that they remain hidden? Divine beings are higher-level lives, existing in sacred realms far removed from the ordinary world of human society. Because they are so noble and elevated, they would not casually allow themselves to be seen by human beings. It is similar to how humans consider themselves advanced creatures with intelligence and abilities. People do not live together with animals or small insects as equals. By the same reasoning, divine beings would not easily reveal themselves before those who have no faith in them. In reality, there are far too many things that human beings cannot see. If a person's moral character and spiritual level do not elevate, if their mind is not sufficiently pure, then they cannot be permitted to see the world of the divine. This is simply how the order of existence operates. Throughout history, whenever a sage or enlightened teacher appeared to transmit the law or the way, they consistently taught that Buddhas and divine beings do exist, and that through spiritual cultivation, human beings themselves can ascend and become divine. Did not Shakyamuni speak about the Buddha realms? And did not Jesus speak about the kingdom of heaven? This is why many traditions say that cultivation returning to one's original, compassionate nature, elevating one's morality and spiritual realm, is the true purpose of human life. Yet those who cling only to materialism and atheism move farther and farther away from the divine. And because of that distance, they are unable to perceive the divine. Shakyamuni Buddha once taught that before his time, there had already been 6 primordial Buddhas who descended to the human world to save sentient beings. He himself was not the first. The Buddha also clearly foretold that in the era known as the Age of the Final Dharma, the Holy King who turns the wheel would descend into the human world to rectify the law and bring salvation to all beings. Across both the past and the future, divine beings and Buddhas have always shown compassion toward humanity in this way. So if one looks with a kind heart, with sincerity and with faith, one may eventually find the divine guide meant for them. In truth, Buddhas and divine beings have always been near you. The only question is whether you are able to recognize them. The mystery of the Merkabah chariot, ancient technology. After Enoch shed the garment of flesh and merged into light, his journey did not end there. In Jewish mystical writings, especially in the Book of 3 Enoch and the traditions known as Merkabah, mysticism, Enoch is led to one of the most mysterious realities of heaven, the Merkabah, also known as the Chariot of God. The word Merkabah in Hebrew simply means chariot or throne chariot. Yet when we read the ancient descriptions found in prophetic texts such as the Book of Ezekiel and later in the Merkabah mystical writings, we quickly realize that it resembles nothing like any vehicle humanity has ever known. If Enoch was the pioneer of spiritual transformation, then the Merkabah was the vehicle of ascension. Ancient sages did not describe the Merkabah as a wooden cart pulled by horses. Instead, they portrayed a colossal structure of light fire and blazing metal. In the vision of the prophet Ezekiel, this chariot is surrounded by interlocking wheels, turning in every direction at once. These wheels are called the ophanim, and their entire surfaces are covered with eyes. These eyes are not merely symbolic imagery. In many mystical interpretations, they represent the ability to observe every dimension of the universe, almost like a system of total awareness. The Merkabah itself is supported by 4 immense beings, known as the Chariot. Each of these beings has 4 faces, a human, a lion, an ox, and an eagle, along with enormous wings that radiate fire. Beneath them are wheels of blazing light, and above them stretches a crystal-like firmament shining like transparent ice. At the summit of this structure stands the throne of the Most High. What is especially striking is the way ancient texts describe the movement of the Merkabah. It does not travel like an ordinary vehicle. The wheels can turn in every direction without turning back, and the entire structure can move instantly. When it moves, its sound is described as thunder, the roar of massive waterfalls, or the march of a great army. For people of the ancient world, this was the only language they possessed to describe something that seemed far beyond the technology of their time. Because of this, many modern researchers who read these descriptions cannot help but ask a bold question. Is the Merkabah merely a spiritual symbol? Or could it be the memory of an advanced technology from an ancient civilization? Some scholars and researchers studying UFO phenomena have even suggested that the descriptions of wheels of fire blinding light and chariots moving through the heavens bear surprising similarities to modern reports of unidentified flying objects. Of course, these ideas remain speculative. In traditional Jewish thought, the Merkabah was not understood as a physical machine in the modern sense. Instead, it was viewed as a structure of the cosmos itself, a divine system through which the soul could draw closer to the presence of God. Yet this is where the story becomes particularly fascinating. Mystics of the Merkabah tradition, during the first centuries of the Common Era, believed that human beings could ascend through the heavens through deep meditation, the recitation of sacred divine names, and passage through successive gates of the celestial realms. Each gate was guarded by powerful angels, and only those whose minds were purified and properly prepared could continue further. In many ancient writings, this journey was called the ascent to the chariot, and according to tradition, Enoch was the first to complete that ascent. But consider this from another perspective. If the soul can truly exist independently from the physical body, and if consciousness does not originate entirely from the brain, then perhaps the Merkabah is more than a religious symbol. It may represent a kind of spiritual technology, a system that allows the soul to pass through layers of reality that the physical body could never endure. Seen in this light, the Merkabah becomes something like a cosmic filter, a vehicle that protects the soul as it leaves the familiar boundaries of space and time. Whether we interpret the Merkabah as mysticism, symbolism, or ancient technology, one thing remains unmistakably clear. Texts such as the Book of 3 Enoch are attempting to describe a reality far greater than the visible world around us. And perhaps within those ancient pages, we are not reading only mythology. Perhaps we are glimpsing a distant memory of a time when humanity understood the universe far more deeply than we imagine today. The mystery of the empty throne. If the Merkabah is the vehicle that allows a human being to enter eternity, then the final destination revealed in the Book of 3 Enoch is a place that causes the entire universe to fall silent, the throne of the Most High. In mystical tradition, this is called Sefer Hekhalot, the throne of glory, but it should not be mistaken for a throne in the ordinary sense of a seat of power. It is not an object. Rather, it is described as the center of all vibration, the point where every layer of heaven converges. Yet the true mystery does not lie in its splendor. It lies in a secret so severe that even the most powerful angels are forbidden to look upon it directly. Why would beings created from fire and light, those who stand before the throne for millions of years, be required to cover their faces with their wings? Because the presence of God is so immense, so pure, that any form, even an immortal one, would dissolve if it were to face it directly. In the vision of the prophet Ezekiel, this throne appears above an immense crystal-like firmament supported by living beings, blazing with fire. Beneath them are wheels covered with eyes that move without ceasing. Everything operates like a perfect system, as if the entire universe were a living mechanism, revolving around that center. Yet the most astonishing mystery is not the structure of the throne. What causes mystics to tremble is its powerful emptiness. Several passages in 3 Enoch suggest that there are moments when the throne appears as a center of infinite light, yet no form can be clearly seen. The presence of the Most High is not described through a specific shape, but through a radiance and authority that language itself struggles to contain. This leads to a disturbing question. Why must the exalted angels, seraphim, cherubim, and ophanim beings formed from firelight and intelligence cover their faces with their wings when standing before the throne? In the book of Isaiah, the seraphim are described as having 6 wings. With 2 they cover their faces, with 2 they cover their feet, and with 2 they fly. This detail has long puzzled theologians. Why would an angel, a being of heaven, need to cover its face? Jewish mystical traditions explain that this is not merely an expression of reverence. It is also a necessary protection, because there exist levels of power in the universe that even immortal beings cannot endure. Imagine this for a moment. You are an angel. You have existed for millions of years. You can see through the stars, understand the laws of the cosmos, and move between the heavens as easily as humans move between rooms. And yet, standing before that throne, your entire being becomes so fragile that even a direct glance could cause you to dissolve. The throne may appear empty, but it is not because God is absent. On the contrary, it appears empty because His presence is so vast, so pure, so absolute, that no physical form, no form of energy in the universe could contain or represent it. This is why many ancient Jewish traditions avoided describing God in a physical form. Instead, they spoke of Shekinah, the divine presence, or Kavod, the glory of God. 3. Enoch reveals an idea that sends a shiver through many readers. There are forms of knowledge that human beings are not meant to perceive fully. The angels cover their faces with their wings, not only out of reverence, but also to protect themselves from dissolving before the ultimate source of power. They stand there trembling in a silence that seems endless, because they know that the one present there is the source of every law, the place where the principles of space, time, and matter themselves begin. In many mystical texts, the throne is described as the intersection of the heavens, something like a cosmic center. From there, the order of heaven is sustained, and the entire hierarchy of angels operates. This detail creates a sense of majesty that is almost overwhelming. It completely overturns the familiar image many people hold of a benevolent God sitting upon a golden chair in the sky. In 3 Enoch, God is not portrayed as a figure with a human shape. He is described as an absolute reality, a source of power beyond every physical concept. And when you hear that even angels dare not look directly upon him, you begin to sense that you are touching one of the deepest secrets of the universe. A secret that humanity may only glimpse through fragments of language and symbol. That is the boundary between us and the Creator. A distance so immense that even the most powerful beings in heaven bow their heads in silence. But we cannot remain standing at a distance, simply observing that stillness forever. The time has come to uncover the final secrets, the journey that many of you have been waiting for. The very question we promised to explore from the very beginning. How could a man of flesh and blood, a sage named Enoch, cross that boundary and become a divine being? How could he endure the fire of heaven without dissolving? How could an ordinary human scribe be transformed into a being who sits upon the second throne, standing in the presence of the Most High? If you are ready to face the truth behind the name Metatron, the most powerful being after God, then the journey begins now. The journey of Enoch, becoming a divine being. To understand why the story of Enoch is so extraordinary, we must return to the very beginning of his life. Before becoming Metatron, Enoch was not an angel, nor was he a supernatural figure. He was simply a human being living among the ancient generations of humanity. According to the book of Genesis, chapter 5, verses 21 through 24, Enoch was the seventh generation descendant of Adam, the son of Jared, and the father of Methuselah, the man who would later become the longest living figure recorded in the Bible. What is remarkable is that Scripture dedicates only a few brief lines to Enoch. Yet those lines are among the most mysterious in the entire text. Enoch walked with God. Then he was no more because God took him. In the context of that age, an era described in Jewish writings and in the book of Enoch as a time filled with violence, greed, and the moral collapse of humanity, Enoch was seen as someone profoundly different. He lived in righteousness, devoted to prayer and contemplation of the mysteries of the universe. Ancient Jewish traditions describe Enoch not only as a righteous man, but also as a prophet and recorder of human history. He wrote about what he witnessed: the movements of the heavens, the activities of angels, the structure of the cosmos, and even the future of humanity. Because of this role, several ancient texts refer to him as the scribe of righteousness. Then came a moment of destiny. According to the book of Enoch and later Merkabah, traditions as chaos on earth continued to grow. God chose Enoch to become a witness to the heavenly realms. One day, while Enoch was praying, angels appeared and called him to leave the world of humanity. There was no grand ceremony, no warning. The angels simply said, "The Lord has summoned you." From that moment, Enoch began a journey unlike anything in human history. He was taken upward through the heavens. In many mystical writings, the universe is not described as having only one heaven. Instead, it is divided into multiple layers, each with its own order and laws. Some traditions speak of 7 heavens, but in Merkabah literature and in the Book of 3, Enoch's journey is described as passing through 10 heavens. Each heaven is guarded by immense angels. From the first heaven to the third heaven, Enoch enters what can be described as the realm where the laws of creation are administered. The first heaven, called Vilon. Here Enoch witnesses what appears to be the storehouse of creation. Angels oversee the forces that govern rain, snow, and storms. Enoch realizes that Earth itself is only a small gear within a much larger cosmic mechanism. The second heaven, called Rakia. In this realm, he sees what might be described as the treasury of the stars. Angels guide the movements of constellations so that the universe does not descend into chaos. This realm also serves as a station where souls wait before their next stage of existence. Beyond the second heaven lies the third heaven, Shehakim, where Enoch encounters a far colder reality. This is not a place of glory, but a prison of the heavens. Here he sees the confinement of the Watcher's beings, who were once powerful angels, but are now chained in eternal darkness for interfering with the destiny of humanity. Justice here is as cold and sharp as a blade, reminding Enoch that even in heaven, betrayal carries a price that can destroy existence itself. Entering the fourth through the sixth heavens, the structure of the cosmos itself begins to reveal its secrets. The fourth heaven, Zebul. Here every movement of time is recorded. The paths of the sun and moon are monitored with precision. Enoch realizes a difficult truth. The world he once believed to be reality is only a reflection of higher cosmic processes. He understands that he is now standing at the threshold where the boundary between mortal and divine begins to dissolve. The fifth heaven, Maun. Sound begins to overwhelm every sense. Hymns without words resonate through the heavens. The vibrations of these celestial songs are so powerful that they could tear apart an ordinary human soul. Enoch must struggle to remain whole in the presence of this overwhelming harmony. The sixth heaven, Maken. Here Enoch encounters what might be described as the architects of the universe. These immense beings are so vast they seem capable of eclipsing entire galaxies. They appear to draw the very chords of space and time themselves. What humans call the laws of nature are revealed to be part of a far greater cosmic design. From the seventh heaven through the ninth heaven, the journey enters its most profound phase, the dissolution of the mortal self. The seventh heaven. Matter no longer exists here. This realm is filled with spiritual fire. Enoch feels his body being consumed not through pain, but as the final attachments of ego and identity are stripped away. The eighth heaven. There is no sunlight here. Illumination comes from the beings themselves. Angels appear with countless eyes, able to perceive every thought and movement within creation. The ninth heaven. The boundary between soul and reality dissolves entirely. Enoch witnesses the convergence of countless souls preparing to enter eternity. Finally, the journey reaches its culmination. The 10th heaven, called Erebath. This is where the throne of glory resides. It is not simply a location. It is presence itself. The light here does not come from any source. The light is reality itself. This is the realm of the Most High, a place so sacred that even angels do not dare gaze directly upon it. After passing through every gate, Enoch stands at the final threshold of human existence, facing eternity, without any remaining shell of his former self. According to the Book of 3 Enoch, when Enoch stood before the presence of God, his body began to transform. His flesh burned away, his bones dissolved into light, and his entire being was reconstructed. He was given 36 pairs of wings, countless eyes of wisdom, and a body formed from light and fire. From that moment forward, Enoch was no longer human. He became Metatron, acceptance and authority. The transformation did not end with his appearance. After the burning away of his former identity and his rebirth as Metatron, Enoch became a completely different kind of being. According to Jewish mystical tradition, Metatron was granted 72 sacred names. Each name represents a form of divine authority, a key that governs different levels of the heavens and the order of the cosmos. These names are not simply titles. They are considered sacred codes connected to the power of the heavenly realms. Yet the greatest privilege lies in a detail that has long stirred debate. God placed a smaller throne opposite the throne of glory. Within Jewish tradition, no angel had ever been permitted to sit in the presence of God. Yet Metatron, a being who once lived as a human, was granted this extraordinary honor. This throne was not a symbol of personal power. It was a seat of cosmic administration. From this position, Metatron became known as the Prince of the Presence. And in some mystical traditions, he's even called the Lesser YHWH, because he represents divine authority in governing the angels. His role is unique. Metatron is often called the Scribe of Heaven. He records every action of humanity, guards the treasures of celestial knowledge, and stands as the only being who fully bridges the two realms. He understands the suffering of humanity because he once lived as a human. And at the same time, he understands the infinity of God because he has been transformed to dwell within the heavens. For this reason, many mystical traditions see Metatron as the bridge between heaven and earth, a being who stands at the boundary of two worlds, an angel who once walked the earth as a man. How can people today be chosen by God like Enoch? Enoch's journey ended in the highest heaven. But for us, his story feels more like the opening of a door, an invitation to begin a search of our own. Because when we reflect carefully on it, we begin to notice something very profound. The throne of glory that Enoch beheld may not simply be a distant location somewhere in the universe. In many spiritual traditions, it also represents the pure presence of God himself. And if that is true, then the most important question is not how many heavens Enoch traveled through. The real question is this: can people today discover that same heaven of Merkabah within the noise and distractions of modern life? The answer may begin with something very simple. First, a person must learn how to quiet the mind. Enoch could stand before the throne only after he had completely laid aside his own ego. But what about us today? Every day our attention is pulled in 100 directions: notifications, news ambitions, worries, and endless pressures. Our minds are constantly filled with noise. Yet true stillness does not happen when the outside world becomes quiet. True stillness begins when the inner self grows calm. When you set aside regrets about the past and anxieties about the future, a very special space begins to open within your soul. A space wide enough for the presence of God to enter. Second, the path toward God always passes through the purity of our actions. In Enoch's journey, each level of heaven operated according to a perfect order. That detail reminds us of something important: the universe does not function through chaos, but through clear and meaningful principles. Purity is not something distant or unreachable. It lives in the way we choose to live each day. A sincere word, a kind action, a righteous choice even when no one else is watching. These small moments become invisible threads that connect a person to the harmony of heaven. The same harmony Enoch encountered in the higher realms. And finally, the most important step may lie in a direction very different from what people usually expect. Human beings often search for God in distant places, in great miracles, in signs across the sky, or in mysterious events far removed from ordinary life. But the journey of Enoch, along with the teachings of Jesus, points toward another path, the path inward. Jesus once spoke a sentence that is simple, yet incredibly profound. The kingdom of God is within you. This does not mean that human beings become God. It means that the path toward God begins with the transformation of the human heart. The throne of God is not merely a seat somewhere among the clouds. That throne is established within the soul of a righteous person. For that reason, instead of searching only for wonders outside ourselves, the greater courage is to look honestly within. Every human being carries shadows in the heart. Selfish thoughts, moments of anger, pride, and ambitions that weigh down the soul. These things are like layers of dust that settle upon the spirit. God teaches that impurity does not come from outside circumstances, but from the thoughts that arise within the human heart. Anyone who wishes to grow spiritually and walk closer with God must first begin by cleansing the inner life. Jesus explained the origin of human corruption with striking clarity. For from within, out of a person's heart, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, wickedness, deceit, lack of self-control, envy, slander, pride, and foolishness. All these evils come from within and defile a person. Mark chapter 7, verses 21 through 23. Because of this, whenever difficulties arise, whether you believe you are right or wrong, there is one place to begin. Do not start by blaming circumstances. Begin by observing your own thoughts the moment they appear. The true journey of a human being is not about ascending through physical heavens, as Enoch did. It is about slowly removing those layers of dust from the soul. When a person learns humility, recognizes personal faults, and begins to correct small words and actions in daily life, the soul gradually becomes clearer and lighter. And within that clarity, the presence of God becomes easier to recognize. For that reason, each day requires only a small moment of quiet. Step away briefly from the noise of life. Sit in stillness. Look honestly at your own heart. Ask yourself a few simple questions. Did I live today according to my conscience? Did I harm anyone with my words or actions? Is there something within me that needs to be corrected? These humble questions may seem small, but they are often the very first steps on the journey of returning to God. In addition, we must not forget the commandments, the sins that must be avoided, because they become powerful barriers that can block our return to God. First, begin with self-control. The Bible teaches, "Do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit." This counsel extends far beyond alcohol. It includes every form of addiction, whether to money status or even the constant pull of social media. All of these can become a dense fog that clouds the soul and weakens our spiritual awareness. To move through that fog, we must replace habits of dependency with stillness and reflection, allowing the soul to be filled with the breath of the Most High, rather than the endless stimulation of material distractions. Once a person begins to gain mastery over the self, the next step is to move beyond deeper spiritual barriers by honoring the commandments. God gave the 10 Commandments not to restrict human freedom, but to protect the soul from being consumed by the overwhelming purity of divine truth. The first commandment says, "You shall have no other gods before me." Today, this no longer refers only to carved idols of wood or stone. It also speaks to the modern idols of recognition, status, and the proud human ego. Place the Creator at the center of life instead of placing the self above everything else. Alongside this, learn to release envy and greed. Remember, this envy is a poison that destroys inner peace. It grows from a false belief that the blessings of the universe are limited. The envious person believes that if someone else receives something good, then something has been taken away from them. In reality, envy is often rooted in pride. And more dangerously, when you envy another person, you are indirectly telling the Creator, "You were wrong to bless them, or you have forgotten me." This attitude challenges the wisdom of God's design for every life. Each soul has its own path, its own calling, its own moment to shine. Building upon the first commandment, we can also look at the remaining 9 through the lens of spiritual growth in modern life. The second commandment: do not make idols. In today's world, do not allow any idea, object, or person to become the center of your identity in place of God. Keep your heart free from attachment to material symbols of power. The third commandment: do not misuse the name of the Lord. Let your words build and heal rather than harm. Honest speech connects the soul to what is sacred, while careless or dishonest language weakens the integrity of the spirit. The fourth commandment: remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. In the midst of life's relentless pace, create space for stillness. Rest is not laziness. It is the moment when the machinery of daily life pauses, so the soul can listen again for the voice of God. The fifth commandment: honor your father and mother. This commandment is rooted in gratitude. A person who cannot honor those who gave them life will struggle to recognize the grace of the one who gave life to the universe. The sixth commandment: do not murder. This teaching goes beyond physical life. It also calls us not to destroy another person's dignity, hope, or spirit through cruelty, indifference, or judgment. Life is sacred in every form. The seventh commandment: do not commit adultery. Faithfulness is more than a social rule. It reflects the integrity of the human soul. A life scattered by uncontrolled desire cannot develop the clarity needed to perceive divine truth. The eighth commandment: do not steal. Respect the labor and property of others. Integrity in action allows the soul to remain light and unburdened, free from the weight of guilt or spiritual debt. The ninth commandment: do not bear false witness. Truth is light. When a person lies, they create shadows that hide them from the clarity of God's presence. Living truthfully keeps the soul aligned with what is real. The 10th commandment: do not covet. This commandment acts as a final safeguard. Greed causes a person to see the world through the lens of scarcity, while God's grace is limitless. Learning contentment allows a person to discover the true wealth that already exists within the soul. You may think of the 10 Commandments as a map guiding the journey through the inner heavens of the human spirit. Each commandment practiced in daily life becomes like passing through another spiritual gate, another layer of ego quietly falling away. Do not attempt to force perfection all at once. Instead, begin each day with a simple question. Does this action bring me closer to truth and goodness? Or does it pull me deeper into the shadow of my own ego? When you live with this kind of awareness, spiritual growth no longer feels like a burden. It becomes a profound liberation, the freedom from inner chains that allows the soul to move toward eternity. In the end, if abandoning harmful behavior through the 10 Commandments is like cleansing the house of the soul, then cultivating virtue is like filling that house with light. Let the golden rule guide every action. In everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. Before you act, place yourself in the position of the other person. In that moment, you begin to sense the connection between one soul and another. And above all, practice forgiveness. Forgiveness unlocks the chains of resentment, not because the other person always deserves it, but because your own soul needs freedom. After everything is said and done, the ultimate goal of spiritual growth is love. As Jesus taught, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And love your neighbor as yourself. This is more than a commandment. It is the only path by which we wanderers on this earth may find our way back to the throne of glory, where love stands as the final and eternal truth. However, in order to walk this path, we must be willing to face the paradoxes of the human heart, because true love has never been merely an instinct. Love in the meaning revealed through Scripture is not simply a passing emotion. Many people assume love is the stirring of the heart, a pleasant feeling when we are close to someone. But in the deeper language of faith, love is an act of the will. It is a conscious decision to place the good of another person above the demands of our own ego. And that is not easy, especially when we are called to love those who have wounded us. Yet, it is precisely in that moment that love reveals its true strength. Just as Enoch had to pass through 10 difficult heavens in order to draw nearer to the presence of God, each of us must also pass through the heavens of the ego within our own soul. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of retaliation, understanding instead of judgment or sacrifice, your own advantage in order to help another person, you are building an invisible ladder that lifts your soul closer to the throne of glory. Every time you choose understanding instead of judging a stranger who is making life difficult for you, you dissolve one more wall that separates human beings from one another. Every time you choose silence instead of boasting about your achievements, so that someone else will not feel small, you are placing your ego into the same refining fire that Enoch himself endured. Every time you choose to give, even when you yourself feel lacking, you demonstrate that your trust in the Most High is greater than your fear of material loss. Every time you admit your mistakes honestly instead of blaming circumstances, you wipe a layer of dust from the mirror of your own soul. And every time you choose to pray for an enemy instead of clinging to resentment, you release yourself from the chains of darkness and step closer to the freedom of the highest heaven. Do not wait until you leave this world to hope for heaven. Heaven is built through these very actions in the present moment. Every decision to release the ego and move toward love becomes a leap beyond the limits of ordinary human life, allowing your soul to touch even briefly the eternal presence. And when we look deeper into this truth, we begin to see something profoundly beautiful. Every human being carries within them a small spark of the Creator. When you love your neighbor, you are not simply performing an act of kindness. You are learning to recognize the reflection of God within them. When you choose patience with someone who has lost their way, you help brush away the dust of the world so that the sacred light within them can awaken once again. When you listen to someone with your whole heart, without selfish motives, without judgment, you are participating in a quiet and sacred act because you are honoring the breath of God that stands before you. Within every person, whether friend or stranger, there is always a divine spark. At times, that spark becomes hidden beneath layers of pain, mistakes, pride, or selfishness. But love has the power to remove that dust. When we treat one another with kindness and understanding, the light of the Most High begins to reflect from one soul to another. When we open our arms to someone who is lost without waiting for them to become perfect, we perform one of the highest acts of love, rescuing a soul from the loneliness of its own darkness. When we lay aside the ego and place another person's well-being above our own pride. Even the most ordinary meeting becomes a sacred moment. Two small lights joining together as they move toward the eternal source. When we honestly acknowledge our own weaknesses, we create space for compassion to enter, dissolving the invisible barriers that divide human beings from one another. Remember this: every act of kindness you offer becomes a prayer without words, a signal sent directly toward the throne. For this reason, loving others is not merely an ethical behavior. It is the fastest way for human beings to recognize the face of God present in this world. And in the end, when we step back and look at the entire journey, we realize that life itself is only a brief passage for travelers walking across the earth. Many people imagine that the throne of glory lies at the very end of the road, some distant place that can only be reached after leaving this world behind. But perhaps the truth is far simpler. That throne has always been present within the human heart from the very beginning. We have simply been too busy running through the competitions and struggles of life to remember how to love fully. So live in such a way that when the final day of your journey arrives and the gates of the highest heaven open, you will not stand there as a stranger trembling before the light. You will step forward as a soul already familiar with love, a soul that has finally found its way home to the house of eternity. We began with the forgotten ancient words of the Book of 3 Enoch, witnessing the journey of Enoch from a mortal man to Metatron, and then reflecting on the footsteps left by great sages such as Shakyamuni Buddha, Jesus Christ, and Laozi. So after all of this, what does this journey teach us? First, the existence of the divine does not depend on whether our eyes can see it. It is revealed through the transcendent principles, the eternal truths that enlightened beings have left behind. If we believe only in what our eyes see and our ears hear, we may remain wanderers lost within the vastness of space and time. Second, the Book of 3. Enoch is not merely a myth told for entertainment. It is a warning and an awakening. Enoch was chosen because he dared to step into places where others would not go. He dared to let go of his mortal self and take on a higher form of wisdom. The lives of Enoch, of the Buddha, of Jesus, and of Laozi all reflect the boundless potential within human beings. We did not come into this world merely to live, grow old, and disappear. We came here to cultivate, to rediscover the divine nature within us that has long been covered by the dust of the mortal world. Finally, the reason we no longer see divine manifestations today may not be because the divine has abandoned us. Perhaps it is the noise of the material world that has clouded the vision of the human soul. The ancient saying, 3 feet above one's head dwell divine beings, is not superstition. It is a reminder that we are always observed, always awaited on the path of return. The path of cultivation is a journey against the current. If Enoch could rise from the mortal realm to the throne of heaven, then each of us also carries within us a hidden passage back to our true origin. Do not forget that Jesus Christ once taught, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." This teaching is not only about reverence, it is a declaration of the path of return. Just as Enoch dared to walk where no one else would, we too must have the courage to let go of worldly desires, selfishness, and fear in order to return to the pure nature that God originally gave us. Remember this? God dwells within the heart of the righteous. He is not hidden somewhere far away in the universe. He is waiting within your own soul, a place that the noise of the material world has caused many to forget. If you can remain awake, if you can keep faith in a world filled with doubt, then that veil will never be permanent. God is still calling your name in the quiet of your soul. Thank you for walking with me through this journey of uncovering these ancient mysteries. I hope that after this video, the way you look at the world, at the divine, and at yourself will no longer be the same. Do not simply live. Begin to understand, and may you walk steadily on your own path of spiritual cultivation.